And good evening, everybody. This is Casey O'Boyle with Game Night, joined as always by Jeff Mahoney, from Summit City Sports. It's been one of those days, folks. I mean, Jeff and I are both in scramble mode, as you can imagine. We are 24 hours away from the start of the football season, and it sneaks up on us every year. This year is no different. It's been very chaotic for both of us. Jeff, welcome back to Around the Fort. How you doing?
Thank you, Casey. Doing great. Summer went by really, really fast, as it seems to go faster and faster the older I get. Tomorrow's week 1, but I feel like we're going to have the first week of sectionals before we know it. The season goes by fast because, as always, here in Northeast Indiana, the excitement is always just so great. You know, I was cruising through the Game Night issue number 1 of 2025. And Casey, I just noticed all the great players from last year that you highlighted. And it kind of got me excited. You know, part of you is sad for those great players that are gone, but to see the new guys filling those roles as I'm doing my 2 deep and things like that. And I'm seeing these new names and heights and weights. It's pretty exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Casey, the last couple of months here, 2 great coaches have retired. Kevin Donnelly in the spring retired from USF football. I believe it was 26 seasons. But my last year was 2019 with the team. And then last year was the first year since then that we had a winning record and made it to the playoffs.
Yeah.
So Adam Sherman's going to take over the program, an All-American with the University of St. Francis. Led the Cougars to the national title game, finishing runner-up. And he was the Remington Award winner, which is a national award that goes to the best center in the country. So that's exciting. And then finding out today that Coach Lacrosse, after 15 years, is going to hang it up as the head coach of Cougar men's basketball. He made it to 3 national championship games. Unfortunately, never got the win. 2 of those were against Indiana Wesleyan, just a very strong basketball program led by head coach Greg Tonigal. Camden Bontrager, who was the star over at Leo, now over at Indiana Wesleyan, having a great career. So I just wish those guys the best in their retirement. And I think I speak for a lot of people when we just appreciate what they did for our community. And Casey really shining a national spotlight right here in Fort Wayne, of course, with Cougar football winning back-to-back national titles in 2016 and 17.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, legendary status, certainly for Coach D. I mean, to be the architect, basically, of St. Francis athletics, let alone football, and all the success he had, especially in that run there, that 2 or 3 year stretch where they were just dominant nationally. Produced a lot of great teams and a lot of great players and a ton of memories. And I think Coach Sherman is going to do a fantastic job. I'm excited to see what he does. We're going to we're debuting a new feature this year on campus where we're going to do a little more college coverage. And we're going to probably try to connect with Coach Sherman here sooner than later. And that will be fun. But yeah, and Coach Lacrosse, man, he still seems like a kid to me because he's younger than me. And I remember covering him. Was he at East Noble?
East Noble.
Right. Yeah. I remember when I was at the News Sentinel in the mid 90s covering him in high school. And it's just, hearing the word retire made me think, what am I doing? I need to retire. But good for Chad. He's had a great run. I think it was about 15, 16 years or so.
Yep. 15.
Yeah. So congrats to him as well. And, everybody gets to that point in their career where it's like, okay, I need to step aside, focus on something else. And kudos to both those gentlemen, and we wish them well. But a lot of success from both those coaches.
Most definitely. And for Coach Lacrosse, his son Bryce is going to be a sophomore at Blackhawk Christian. Casey, one heck of a basketball player. I mean, the apple does not fall too far from the tree.
Well, Coach was a heck of a player himself, and I'm sure this will be nice for him to be able to have maybe more time, especially in season, to watch his son play and enjoy those memories, because he hadn't been able to do that this last 15 years or so. So I understand those decisions. It'll be great for him and his family. Let's shift gears real quick, Jeff, if you don't mind, and talk briefly. I want to give a quick shout out to Jake the Snake Smith. Jake wanted to be here He's his father had heart surgery, as you know, Jeff, I think it's just a couple weeks ago already. And it's been a real touch and go situation. We've been praying like crazy for him. Snake just sent me a text a little bit ago, and it sounds like his dad's, was able to, I think, squeeze his hand and react a little bit, open his eyes and react to Jake's voice, which is encouraging. It sounds like, again, knock on wood, as we pray this thing through, maybe they're turning a little bit of a corner, and it's been a really, really tough deal. Gary Smith is his name. Whitley County, born and bred. Jake said he was tougher than a $3 steak. I almost went to Kroger and picked one up just to find out how tough he was tonight. But that tells you everything you need to know. Not surprising, knowing Jake as well as we do. So we're praying for you, Gary, and certainly for the whole Smith family. I hope he has a full recovery. Sounds like we're getting some encouraging news there, so we're really happy to hear that. We'll talk a little bit towards the end of the show on the Snake page. We'll represent Jake with his offering this week. It's kind of an interesting thing. I think our readers will really appreciate this week. And then a quick shout out to Jackson Geiger, who's normally kind of our in-house engineer down in the cave. He's got a bad hoof. I think he was playing basketball or bowling or, something. He did something, fell down, jacked up his hoof. So he's not 100%, but he's on the mend. He's actually was working on a story for Out of Trine with Coach Ab. So that's something for folks in game night and our new on-campus feature to look forward to. So Jackson, heal up. We look forward to seeing you back in the saddle next week at this time. So without further ado, let's jump into the rag, Jeff. Week 1, season 28 for game night. That makes me feel old. I've been playing game night now longer than I was at the age when I started it. And all these years later, Matt Bear and I, when we left the New Sentinel in 1998, came up with this idea, and here we are almost 3 decades later. It's been a lot of fun. Appreciate your support these last 10 or 12 years too, Jeff. But this cover is really fun. I mean, people are going to look at it and say, whoa, what's going on there? That doesn't look like Kurt Tittman. No, that's Kurt Signetti. And this is our way to introduce our on-campus coverage that we'll have every week in the magazine, usually on the center spread, but we might have other offerings within the 24 pages of game night. Page 2 of this week's issue, which we'll get to here in a second. There it is my column. Kind of a funny story recanting a memory with my father about 50 years ago, where I learned a few choice words after IU got destroyed by Nebraska. And my dad promised that he would never, ever go back and see IU live again, as long as this particular gentleman was still coaching there. Well, sadly, my dad kept his word because he ended up dying in a plane crash in 1980. So Dad kept his word. I don't think he was planning on it going down quite like that. But this was kind of a fun story to write because Maura and I went down to that Nebraska game last year, and it was right out towards the end of game night's publishing. And so I had a little free time, and they had all this momentum. You could tell they were turning the corner. And you talk about exercising demons. I mean, they just totally squashed the Cornhuskers, and it was so much fun. Beautiful day in Bloomington. Crowd was electric, and seeing it up close and personal, you could tell this was different than anything we'd ever seen before as IU fans, and for me as an IU grad. So we also went to the Michigan State game, the Michigan game. Doug Blackwell, who took those pictures on the cover and also on the center spread, was at the Bucket game for us. And I also want to give a quick shout out to Reggie Telemack. He's the one that designed that cover. You can always tell Reggie's work is exceptional. I thought that was a really, really fun cover with all the red. Memorial Stadium as a backdrop there. And of course, the college football playoff trophy. Why not put it out there as a goal, because IU football is different now. And even if it's just a 1 or 2 year blip, whatever, it's been long coming for IU fans. So special season. It was a great opportunity to salute that and then kind of introduce what we're going to do this year in game night. So thank you for that. If you can, if you have any questions or thoughts, Jeff, just interrupt me. Right there real quick. DeKalb is our Fort Wayne Fire Department team of the week. Our seniors there. Great group of kids. Of course, a new coach, Ryan Robertson. We'll talk about him here in a little bit. But they were a fun group of kids, and I thought that was kind of a neat way to kick off that particular ad. Okay. I thought maybe 4 or 5 minutes here, Jeff. We'll talk about this first featured game in game night. These first 1, 2, 3, 4 games, you not only are they featured games in game night, but you're covering them as well. And people are going to think, "Oh, I'm sure that wasn't planned." Well, it wasn't planned. I mean, Jeff, we don't talk a whole lot during the summer, do we? Because we're both doing so much. And I sent you a text, just a week or so ago, and said, "What games are you covering?" And as you listed them off, I was like, "Okay, good. We're doing that. Good, good." So it worked out perfectly, especially on the front half of the magazine. And then we can talk about some of the others after that. But this East Noble at Wayne game is certainly intriguing, I think. And I think you would agree, Jeff, because the new coach out at Wayne, Jace White, the coach's son, came over from Bishop Lures along with his little brother. They've got some nice weapons there. I think a lot of kids that maybe we don't know quite a lot about, but I think we will. And then, of course, East Noble, my goodness, Coach Stewart last year took that team down to state. What a season the Knights had. When they lost 35-10 early against Snider, I think there were some doubters. But by the end of the year, you think about what they did to Bishop Dwenger in the postseason. My goodness, what a dominant performance. Mm-hmm. They fell short in the state finals, but it was still one of the best seasons in East Noble history. And, just a really good group. Last year, I think they graduated 13 seniors, I believe. And, you think of a kid like Dylan Creel and what he meant to that program. Of those 13 seniors, I think there's probably 3 or 4 that were two-way guys, Dylan being the most noticeable. Mm-hmm. But they returned some studs too. They got 3 offensive linemen coming back, including the Hunter boys, I call them, Hunter Shire and Hunter Smithson, both really large human beings. Sam Strader is the other lineman that's coming back. Of course, the quarterback, a good picture there of him, Riley Biddle, also a safety. What a stud he is. He had a great year last year. I think he throws one of the best deep balls in the area, just a real soft, feathery touch. It looks like Mason Treesh, who had a phenomenal season last year on both sides of the ball. Sounds like he might be out for the season, which is poor news for that program.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I think there still is a chance he could make a comeback, but it would probably be, very late in the season. So we're wishing the best for him. But junior Ian Ramey, this is a name to keep an eye on. This is a really good football player. Did some nice things last year as a sophomore. I wouldn't be surprised to see him among our leaders board running the ball this year. And then, of course, the Phillips boys, Alex and Austin, the freshman Austin is getting lots of run. And sounds like just both hard workers, and, they work tirelessly in the weight room, and excited to see those guys play a little more elevated role. What are your thoughts on East Noble?
Wow. Intriguing game against Wayne, but East Noble, they're just reloaded. I know they lost a lot, including Dylan Krell, who was top 3 for game night player of the year a year ago. I got to see Riley Biddle in action at the PSM 7-on-7 at Columbia City High School. This was in late June. And Casey, every time I looked down there, he was completing passes. We got the stats from the Concordia scrimmage, and he completes 9 of 12, 183 yards, 4 touchdowns, and a long of 65. So the mantra for Riley Biddle is he wants to up that completion percentage. Last year, it was just below 50%. Remember, Riley did not play quarterback as a sophomore, not on JV, because he was the starting safety for East Noble. So last year, when he got inserted, it's kind of getting his first reps there at QB with the Knights. But this year, I'm telling you, he's putting the ball on the money. I wouldn't be surprised if it was around 70% this year. And it's going to be an interesting game when Snider comes to town next week. I mean, first they got Wayne, but these guys are looking like, honestly, Casey, right now, it's looking like Bishop Dwenger and East Noble, if they could meet up for a sectional championship, that would be absolute fireworks this year.
Yeah, and 4A, to me, feels wide open again like it was a year ago. That one of our teams, whoever gets hot at the right time and is healthy, could make another run back to state. And those would be my two favorites at this point for sure. Well, let's talk a little bit about the Wayne Generals. I briefly mentioned Jace White at quarterback. His father, Darian, used to be at Bishop Luers as I believe he was the OC or maybe the passing coordinator under Coach Kyle Lindsey. He took the job when Sherwood Haydock left Wayne. And, of course, he brought his sons with him. Why wouldn't you? And Jace White, I think, talking about throwing a really good ball. I think Jace White throws a really good ball too. They graduated a ton as well. They probably, I think there was, 23 seniors, I believe.
Oh, yeah.
9 starters on offense, 9 on defense are gone from last year's team. A couple of them are two-way guys like Kamar Nelson, who's going to Northern Illinois to play for Coach Thomas Hammock, and Harold Mack, another two-way guy that seemed like he was there forever. I think he went to Eastern Michigan. Memory serves me correctly. Jake Sharon's another one that was a real stud. He's at St. Francis right now. Spoke with his dad today out at Wayne, and sounds like he's doing really well and having fun and learning, and hopefully we'll be in the mix to maybe get some special teams here early on. But so they lost a ton, make no mistake, but it still feels like they've got some athletes and they've got some parts. And I know Coach White is super ambitious and eager to prove people wrong. So it'll be interesting to see. This is a tough one to open up with, no doubt about it, but it'll be a good measuring stick, I think, for the Generals. Our senior spotlight, Jordan King, great kid. I think he could make a splash this year. Just a hair, Jeff. He could make a splash this year on offense and defense, but especially as a receiver. There's 3 or 4 really good receivers, along with Tyree Eldridge is a junior, and Justin White, Jace's little brother. Both those kids could have really big seasons as well. So I'm excited to see, what these guys come up with. It's going to be interesting, again, having to face East Noble. I made a mention in game now. You wouldn't be surprised at all if East Noble did a play action and went up top, very first play from scrimmage, to say, you know what, we know you're going to load the box because everybody thinks East Noble is a run first team, and they may end up being run first as the year goes on. But with a quarterback like Riley Biddle, they're going to take some shots early on, I think. So that secondary needs to be on their toes, and it's going to be a fun one to watch.
Well, it's like you said. I mean, you returned 2 running backs that averaged around 7 yards a carry with Ian Ramey and Alex Phillips. So I do believe they're going to be able to run the ball, but it is intriguing, and you love to see the way the ball leaves Riley Biddle's hands. One guy that I wanted to mention is Javante Eldridge. Someone told me the other day, they're like, there's not that much D1 talent in Fort Wayne. And well, Jaquarian Guilford is ranked number 1 in the state for the class of 2025. Wide receiver over at Northrup, but Javante Eldridge really looks that part. He's only going to be a sophomore, but he's a big athletic defensive end, and maybe he could help him on the offensive side of the ball too. I think with Wayne right now, I mean, the talent's there. It's just kind of that same old story of depth. Are they going to have the depth? And Coach White said it in his interview, preseason interview. What's going to happen when we get punched in the mouth? When we face some adversity, what's going to happen? Are we going to feel sorry for ourselves? Are we going to put our head in our hands, or are we going to dust ourselves up, get back up, and play the next play?
Right. I think he was pleased with their scrimmage last week. He said they certainly had some ups and downs, but I think overall he felt like, to your point, Jeff, they answered the bell when things didn't go their way, which is a good sign for a young team early in the season.
And that's what Coach Darian White brings. He is such a calming force. I had the pleasure of working with him for, I think, 5 straight years at the Traction AP showcase. And he is just cool, calm, and collected, but make no mistake about it, he knows how to win football games. He's been a part of that Lures program forever, it seems like. Remember the picture with him at holding the state championship and the 3 little boys?
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah.
And then they replicated that in 2023.
Yep.
So I just think he is like Coach Goodwell. We said that when Southside hired him. Perfect hire. I think you can say the same thing about Darian White.
Yeah, I think so too. And he is he's cool as a cucumber in the moment. Very calm, very even keeled. And that will really, I think, spread down to the kids, and that'll be a really positive influence there. So fun one to keep an eye on. And to your point earlier about all the talent, and every year we hear it. Oh, there's no talent. There's no linemen. There's no quarterbacks. There's no, you hear it every year. And then you start, believing it. And then you do what we do and you dive really deep into this stuff. And you're like, no, there's plenty of good players and good teams and the coaches always are great in our area. We're going to have good teams at the end of the year, like we do every year. And we're going to have some kids that rise to the top. And, and then there's going to be a few surprises and some of these younger kids that we don't know about yet that all of a sudden will be household names in a year or two. So, fear not, Fort Wayne football fans.
And not everybody's not everybody's like you and I, Casey, where we're getting too deep and we're seeing the numbers of these young kids. And then you got a young man right here who transferred into Lures. And does he look the role?
Yeah. The operative word was man. I mean, when he showed up at the photo shoot, Jeff, I think I told you, I couldn't believe it. I thought it was at first almost like a practical joke. Like they said, okay, they took Alabama's starting, tackle, flew him to Fort Wayne, said put on this Lures uniform and show up out at the safety village at Lures photo shoot and scare Mr. O'Boyle because he is a massive, massive dude. Jonas, I think it's Muya is how you pronounce that. What a sweet kid. He was a really nice kid, very polite, very gregarious, a lot of fun. His background, of course, is basketball from LaPorte, La Lumiere or whatever. But now it's my understanding he's getting some serious looks and or offers for football, and he's never played before. And that just tells you what a freak he is athletically. And look at that frame. This picture doesn't do it justice, but he's a legit 6'8", 285, great feet, just chiseled. And somebody needs to probably check his birth certificate to make sure that he's 17 or 18 because he sure doesn't look like it. He is a man child. And this was a Lures offensive and defensive lines that were already stacked to begin with. Mm-hmm. And you bring in a guy like this, it makes it really fun. You've got the Taylor brothers, Ale and Jaron, both made our preseason team. We'll get to here in a little bit. You got Zach Wall, a 4-year starter at center, who's back, who's just gigantic in his own right. And then a few other guys that don't get the pub that these others do that give Lures some great depth and talent on both offensive and defensive lines, probably the best that they've ever had, at least in my memory. They lost some skill guys, some to graduation, a couple to transfers. And so that's something to keep an eye on, but they've got great young talent. That sophomore class was loaded. They destroyed everybody last year as freshmen. So they're going to be really good there. I did hear that they have a small freshman class this year, which is concerning. The ebb and flow of things is just, it's hard to fathom or follow. Yeah. But, again, it's Bishop Lures football. Even when they have a little bit of a bump in the road, it seems like they get back on track really quick. 2 trips in a row to the state finals, including last year in 3A. Coach Kyle Lindsay was our coach of the year 2 years ago. He's done a phenomenal job getting that program back to where it was when his father was just racking up blue rings. And then, I just can't say enough about the job that the coaches have done out at Bishop Lures. Excited to see this matchup out at Leo. I think this is a good first week game for Bishop Lures from the standpoint that Leo is going to be a formidable opponent. They're going to be well disciplined. They're going to be fundamentally sound. They're not going to beat themselves, but they also don't have Brock Schott and Landon Hepner anymore. So a good opportunity to avenge last year's, I think it was 20-17 loss for Bishop Lures and get off on the right foot. But Leo is going to be good again too. They've got some nice parts. 3 returning offensive linemen are back. Kellen Hulbert there, a 2-way guy, receiver, defensive back. Everybody knows that their quarterback left, and he's over at Carroll now, Grayson Escara. But you've got a fellow by the name of Senior Titus Stoller, and he's going to be the guy under center. At least that's what I've been told. Correct me if you've heard differently, Jeff. And it's my understanding, talking to Coach Dorfler, he's really elusive, and I think when the pocket collapses and he's got to improvise a little bit, he's going to be a better runner than Escara was. And so he might not throw the ball, as well, but I think he's going to be more athletic, more elusive, and they might be able to use him more with some option and some bootlegs and things of that nature, quarterback draws. So that will be a little different element that really Leo football hasn't had in a few years. So something to keep an eye on.
Yeah, I mean, well, going back to let's start with Bishop Lures. Casey, I've been doing this a long time. This is year number 11, and I don't think I've ever seen a high school offensive line average 290 across the board. Mayante Williams, the junior, Josh Morgan, you said Zach Wall, Quentin Price, and then Jonas Moya. So that's a big offensive line right there. And the sophomore running back, Casey, first play from scrimmage, Epperson, right down the field. I mean, he is a home run hitter. He holds I believe it's the 100 and 200 meter dash record for the CYO during his time at St. Vincent's.
Yep.
Yes, Lures had a dominant freshman class last year. This year, Dwenger feels like they have their great freshman class. So like you said, the ebb and flows. Brandon Gaither, another sophomore, he's going to be the backup running back. So they kind of have a 1-2 punch that's pretty young, along with the sophomore quarterback and Tommy Reichert. Well, Reichert goes 6'2", 195. So, being a sophomore, he already kind of looks the role.
Pretty big dude. Yep.
Jace White, Devin Patterson, no longer there. If Devin Patterson was there, he would probably be the starter because of how much experience he has with the offense. But Jace followed his dad, and I thought Devin went to Northrup, but I'm not sure about that. But it does line up well for Riker. I'm excited to see him develop this year because, Casey, a sophomore quarterback is going to have their bumps, but a sophomore quarterback at Lures is usually shining by week 7, 8, 9 going into the postseason. Yep. They just do a good job developing their quarterbacks there, always have.
Yeah, Kyle is a big part of that, having played the position himself and won so many football games as a 3-year starter at Bishop Lures, playing for his father. He's really good at developing young guys under center. He'll do the same thing with this young man. Rory Kelly is another name to keep an eye on from that sophomore class. I think he's one of the top sprinters in the area last year, track and field wise. So they've got that sophomore class is going to fill the void in terms of the athletes that are no longer there. But there's sometimes growing pains when you're playing youngsters. And so that's something to keep an eye on with some of these games early in the season, how they handle a mistake, a drop pass, a turnover, a tough call by the Zebras, whatever. That'll be the important part for Bishop Lures football early on. But I think by the end of the year, as long as those beasts on both lines stay healthy, they could be really, really good by the end of the year. And Mikhail Woodson is another name, a really good player that we'll talk about on our PT 40 here in a little bit. But he also is he'll be that stabilizing force now in the secondary. He's kind of the lone wolf back, so he'll have to carry that burden of getting those young guys caught up.
And then looking at Leo, Casey, when you bring back Isaiah Kuhlman for your offensive line, 6'2", 275, basically spent the entire wrestling season ranked number 1 in Northeast Indiana in the heavyweight class. You got him and Hayden Roberts that return. And then they got this sophomore, Jake Clemens, who goes 6'3", 250. We both know, I mean, Nathan Foster really did look like the best back in Northeast Indiana last year as a pure running back. And I don't know if you saw the highlights from the Wayne scrimmage, but when he got around the left side, guys, he's making cuts while still going downfield almost at full speed. That's a very, very special thing to do. Cut, bounce out, cut, bounce out. And
without
then
losing speed.
Yeah, and he got knocked out right there by the pylon. So I'm excited. Titus Stoller, just go back 2 years ago, the last time Leo won an NE8 sectional championship. Remember how great Kyler Decker was? I mean, he was just so athletic. He could throw the ball. He could run the ball. He made it really, really tough for defenses. So I'm excited for these guys. And, Brett Sauter as a sophomore, wow, what a great linebacker. We were talking about him every single week. Casey, I get the roster. He's listed at 6'1", 215 pounds now.
Yeah, he was solid at the photo shoot. He looked really good, and he was our newcomer of the year. Remember last year, and I mean he's joining a list of some pretty special players, and he's still working hard. Of course, the son of former coach Jared Sauter, who's a friend of ours. And yeah, that's a kid whose recruiting stock I think can go up significantly with another good season here.
And I think, a guy like Kellen Holbert, who can punt the ball, who plays great defense for you, a great wide receiver. You got a guy like that who spent so much time on the field last year that he's going to be a very calming force for some of these new guys, along with Nate Foster, Isaiah Kuhlman. I was thinking a week ago, East Noble's going to run away with the NE8. Not so fast. I mean, watch out for the Lions.
Yeah, for sure. And I would also say, and Columbia City, I'd say those two. It's the big three. And I think, again, one more year of that at least with those three programs. All right, let's get out of that one, Jeff, and jump into Northrup at New Haven, another game that Summit City Sports is featuring tomorrow night. I want to do a quick – I got a prop. I know you love my props, Jeff. I've got to show this beauty. Look at this new guy. That's the New Haven helmet.
That is sharp. Is that the matte with the chrome NH?
It's kind of the matte white and then the chrome NH. I don't know if you can pick up the I'm not doing a very good job.
Hold on, I'm gonna go full screen with you.
Okay, can you see the bulldog? Kind of
nice
in there.
Yes.
Can you see him? Isn't that awesome?
That's very clean too.
Yeah, it's on both sides.
Isn't that
awesome? You see the teeth?
Yeah, no, it's great. Yeah, right there. The black face mask, the black chin strap on that white mat. And then I saw their uniforms in game night.
Purple. I think it's purple.
Oh, that's a
purple. It looks like it's black. Yeah.
But it's sharp.
Yeah, it is sharp. But it's going to play like black, certainly from a press box. But go ahead, Jeff.
No, I was just saying, I mean, we'll get to them in a little bit. I don't want to ruin it for the people that haven't seen New Haven's uniforms from your photo shoot. I will save that for later.
Yeah, for sure. Well, let's talk briefly about Northrup since they're on the road. I'm still waiting. I need a new helmet with the N for Northrup. They've got that new scripted N. I kind of need that one in the cave. So Coach Quentin, Coach Q, if you're watching, I know you are. You can leave one of those out at Fuller Stadium for me tomorrow, and I'll swing by and pick it up. But Jeff, are you still there?
Yep.
Okay. I don't know if you can. Yeah, maybe screen us. Yeah, this is way too much Swami there. That was too much for even my own good. Speaking of uniforms, so Northrup at our photo shoot, I know for sure they had at least 4 different jerseys represented, 4, maybe a 5th. Okay, so they had the white, which is their road, of course, and then for their home jerseys, they have the gray there with Anthony Harris is sporting. At the bottom, Don LeRae Reese. I love Don LeRae. It's like a black. That one is so cool. And then they had the old school like Tennessee orange.
Nice.
Represented here. And there may have been a 5th one too. So, Fort Wayne Community Schools, the tax dollars are working hard out there, especially for Northrup. They got some great unis.
Yeah, but but they're smart about it now, Casey. See this little logo here? It's not a Nike emblem. It's not Under Armour. It's not Adidas. This is a company out of Indianapolis, and they can basically get 4 sets of uniform for the price of 2.
Yeah, because you're not paying all those licensing fees. That's just how you do it. But yeah, they look great, and they were a fun group this year. They've got a lot of parts. We kind of alluded already to the 2 Lures transfers, D. Hogue and Davion Surrey. Both are going to really upgrade that team on both sides of the ball. I wonder if Hogue is going to be the ball carrier for Northrup like he was out at Bishop Lures. We know what he can do on defense. 9 interceptions a year ago. Just a phenomenal defensive back. I think maybe the best DB in the area. The quarterback, David Carlson, is back. Basically a 3-year starter. And I think that's another kid that has really improved, and his recruiting stock has gone up and should continue to go up, especially if he can stay healthy and put together some good starts here. And I think he will. And then, of course, we talked about, Quay Guilford, who committed to Ohio State. Swami was trying to steer him towards IU ever so carefully. I even told him that at the photo shoot, and he had a smile from ear to ear. And I said, well, you know what? Go ahead and become an All-American at Ohio State and then hold out for the bank for NIL money, more NIL money from Coach Sig. And he goes, oh, no. But we'll see how things go for him. But he's in a great spot there. And And then the Maddox Wheel, of course, the young receiver, his recruiting stock's really starting to heat up too. So there's weapons galore. The big question mark, and it seems like this is the new theme now out at Northrup. What do they have in the trenches? Are they good enough on both sides, offensively and defensively, to really be the kind of team that their skill guys suggest they could be? It's they've made some improvements in that area. Jeff, watch out. This is a top 3 or 4 team in the SAC potentially, certainly with their skill guys. If they haven't, and they become a little one-dimensional, and they struggle in the bully ball department where they get pushed around a little bit, then then anything above 500 is probably a long shot. So we'll find out a lot. I think tomorrow night's a good opener against a New Haven team that's still kind of trying to find themselves a little bit. But then down the road, as the schedule gets tougher, I think we're going to have, especially next week against Huntington North, that'll be a nice test for the Bruins heading into the SAC.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think it's safe to say they have the best receiving core and they have the best defensive backfield in Northeast Indiana. I think that's safe to say. Maybe the state. I don't know. When you get to Marion County, it's a different beast. But I didn't even think about D Hogue at running back, because D was like a 7 yards a carry guy last year for Lures. It's like you said, the offensive line is going to have to pave the way, but I'm really excited about Northrup and what they can do this year. I mean, what would it be? The first winning season in
long time, 21 straight seasons without an above 500 season, going back to Matt Stinson in 2003 when they were 8-3. So,
and Casey, Jamari Brown is ranked, I think it's number 24 in the state, but he's not back with the team. Is that correct?
I don't think so. He wasn't at the photo shoot. We didn't put him on our leaders board. I'm pretty sure he is not back with the team.
Yeah.
But everybody else is. I mean, plus the additions of Surrey and D Hogue.
Yeah, and that's I didn't see him in the digest, but I was saddened not to see Jerquadian on the cover.
Yeah.
So Quay should be on the cover. For some reason he couldn't make it. He's still listed in here, but a lot of people were saying to me, "Where's Quay? Where's Quay?"
Yep.
Northeast Indiana very underrepresented in this cover. I think a D Hogue.
Yep.
I think a D Hogue or a Riley Biddle could certainly be on there. As it is, you got Braden Holbrook and Cam Fravel from Adams Central, two unbelievable players.
Yeah. Fort Wayne football, Northeast Indiana football is good enough, I think, to have 5, 6, 7 kids on that every year, in my humble opinion. But those things are tough, as you know, putting together any preseason team, postseason team. It's next to impossible. And Quay did make the game night photo shoot. I just want to point that out.
But yeah, he is a super 25 player. He just is not on the cover.
He's phenomenal. And you know what? It's interesting, Jeff, this year versus last year. Last year, he didn't, in my opinion, he looked like a skinny kid that was still finding his way. This year, he looks like a college wide receiver. He looked an inch taller to me. He looked 15 pounds more muscular to me. And the way he carried himself, he is going to have a monster season. And there's a nice shot of him as a top 25. People are going to be forced to put 2 or 3 guys on him, one safety over top, and that's going to open the door for these other people. And it'll be pick your poison here pretty soon. I'll be really intrigued to see what New Haven does tomorrow night in terms of trying to defend that. I mean, you almost have to go straight to a dime defense to a certain degree, play 3 down linemen and put spies on a couple key guys and pick your poison and see if you can't get off the field or get a negative play, because otherwise Carlson will just pick them apart.
Yeah. And that's the man right there, because remember last year, Northrup came out the gates and they were winning against Huntington North. And then we had the lightning delays. They went back on the Saturday. Callison gets hurt. And, towards the end of the season, you had Jamari Brown back there at quarterback, but he's a total difference maker. And I'd be curious to know if Devin Patterson's there as well, because that could be some extra depth at the quarterback position. But Callison is a really good player. Excited to see what they can do.
I don't have my depth chart yet from Northrop either, so we'll keep an eye on that. Maybe that's something we can talk about next week. But Yeah, there's some skill guys galore, so I'm really excited to see. Oh, Coach Brown or Coach Bowen just sent me an email. He's watching the show. Maybe I should open that email. There's a depth chart there for us. All right, let's talk briefly about New Haven, and then we'll go to the next game, Jeff. I've talked briefly about them. Coach Shearer, I love this young guy, this head coach, second year, rough season a year ago, 1-9. They also had some key injuries, and a few graduation losses, notably the Hoffer kid, Aaron Hoffer, Jesus Diaz, who's the second favorite Jesus for me in the Game Night Nation, and then Charles McGrant. What a stud he was! He's at Adrian College up in Michigan. They're going to miss those kids. They were tough ballers, but they've got some really nice skill guys. Cedric Boone there is a defensive back. I like Cedric a lot. Calvin Dobson is back. He suffered an injury last year that he was a captain, curtailed his season almost out of the gate. He's back and healthy. Chris Woods is back at linebacker. I really like him a lot. And then DJ Simpson, if you scroll down a little bit in our senior spotlight, he was kind of their guy last year that really toted the rock. And I'm really excited to see DJ this year, see what kind of year he has running the ball. They've got some decent size in the trenches and some returning guys. And their secondary, like I alluded to a moment ago, is going to be phenomenal.
Yeah, I'm excited to see the team. Trey McCreary coming over from Wayne with Coach Haydock.
Mm-hmm.
So getting the starting nod there at quarterback. He
was his story, don't you? That's Sherwood's grandson.
Yeah, Sherwood's. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Trey McCraney, Razorback. Yeah,
and he was battling for the starting position at Wayne last year at the beginning of the year as a sophomore.
Yep.
So I know a lot of we saw a little bit of Ethan Wake last year in a backup role, get some QB reps, but it looks like they're going to go with Trey to start the season.
Yeah, and they were really excited during the summer that they thought his reps looked really good. I think they feel really confident. I think Coach Haydock's going to be I think they're calling him an offensive consultant. I don't know exactly what that means. I hope he has a golf cart or something, and I can sit in it with him. We can just kind of tool around together. That would be fun. And I could hear him call plays and whatnot. But no, I'm just kidding. I think he's just going to contribute any way he can. I'm sure he's happy to be coaching again. It's in his blood. He wasn't ready to step aside just yet. And I think this is going to be a good marriage between Coach Haydock, his grandson Trey McCraney, and the New Haven Bulldogs.
Well, and everybody remembers Coach Haydock, the great coach at Harding High School, absolutely broke his heart when they shut the doors at Harding. The job was not open at New Haven. Jim Rowland was doing a great job there with the Bulldogs, but he took the job over at Woodland. And then, boy, he always had a special place in his heart for New Haven. And now he's there back with the guys that he started with in Fort Wayne.
Yeah, pretty ironic, isn't it? I remember when he came to Harding High School, Marty Farrell was the athletic director at the time, who was my old 7th grade teacher at St. Vincent's. And Marty made it a point to have me over to school to meet Coach Haydock the day he came in and show him game night, early onset game night, right? Old school, black and white. And Sherwood was blown away. Yeah. He loved it. And he says, whatever you need, anytime. This is awesome. Because he was a football guy and he already had been coaching many, many years, mostly at in the northwest part of the state, I believe, or almost due west of here in the middle of nowhere. He came from that area and he already had a lot of success. And he was so excited to be in Fort Wayne at the time. He loved Harding, of course, New Haven and the East Allen scene. He's always been, it's always been home to him. So in many ways, this is a homecoming for Coach Haydock. I'm really happy for him and it'll be fun. I'm excited to see what they put on the field this year. They're still a little undermanned, in my opinion, in most of their matchups, but I think they're going to get better as the year goes on. And I love Coach Shearer. I think his heart's in the right place, and he'll get them turned around eventually.
And I think Coach Haydock's going to add a lot to that program. And Casey, just to your point with game night, that's 100% right there. Before game night was the New Sentinel Prep Sports Weekly, and I've talked to you about this many times, but that was basically your creation there, and it was the best prep sports coverage that I'd ever seen. And folks, I played at Dwenger. Then I went out to Los Angeles and covered high school sports, then Springfield, Missouri, then Naperville, Illinois, coming back to Fort Wayne. You don't find stuff like this hardly anywhere in the country.
Yeah, thank you, Jeff.
That's just keeping it real.
No, I appreciate you saying that. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Matt Bear, who started game night with me 28 years ago. He and I were the main collaborators, for lack of a better term, on the preps post game and all that, all the high school stuff, prep sports in large part, but especially the Friday night coverage into Saturday. We would, it was a PM paper, so we didn't really have deadlines like the people across the hall did, and so we would stay up all night long. I remember my wife would be like, "Oh my gosh, are you just playing pool over at Henry's?" Sometimes we were, but many times we were working tirelessly, and we would stay up until 6:30, 7 a.m. and we would get every box score out there. I mean, even if we had to call coaches and wake them up, this is before cell phones. There was no texting. We were waking up a lot of wives, but we'd get all that information, and then the quick hits and all the stuff. I mean, that was a lot of work, but it was so much fun. And Matt and I really spearheaded that effort. But I have to give props to Matt for sure, because he and I were then the ones that founded Game Night in 1998. So thank you, Jeff. All right, let's get to this next one. Warsaw. This is kind of this is a sentimental pick, truthfully. As we both know, Jake the Snake, who we mentioned at the top of the show, his son, oh God, I'm going to butcher his name. Xavier. Is it Xavier?
Yep.
Or Xavier. I always want
Xander.
I think it's Xavier, but with a Z. At any rate, I always call him or with an X. I call him X.
Yeah.
Let's just call him X.
X-Man.
His name all the time. At any rate, we'll get it soon enough. He's only a sophomore. He's got plenty of time. He's a really good soccer player, Jake's son. He has decided to give football a try this year, which is so exciting. And I don't know if he'll get any varsity snaps or not, but he might. And he's right now listed as a punter. And let's face it, the kickers and punters out at Warsaw High School are pretty good in recent memory. I mean, there's guys playing major college football and in the NFL. So I'm really excited for Jake because he's a football guy through and through. He coaches, of course, in the Columbia City youth ranks. And to have his son now find his way onto the gridiron in high school in any capacity is really exciting. So sentimentally, this is a neat pick or addition for us to add Warsaw back in as we grow game night. It takes us up to 37 teams, and this week 1 matchup at Snider is just epic. And another game Summit City is doing, I believe, right, Jeff?
Yes.
So what a fun matchup. 2 old school type coaching staffs, Coach Curtis over at Warsaw, Coach Kurt Tittman at Snider. I mean, this should be a real physical test. It'll probably be over in about an hour and 47 minutes because there's going to be like 3 forward passes, but it's going to be a lot of fun. And it's definitely one that I'm going to have, my eyeballs tuned into. And speaking of a couple of players, Brody Duncan, like that picture. Roman Smith sent me that. I thought that was a really cool studio shot of Brody. He's kind of that prototypical fullback guy that's just mean and nasty, gets those tough yards. Their quarterback this year is Quentin Brock, great athlete. I mean, he was really more of a running back last year. Now he's playing QB. Their QB of a year ago was Drew Sullivan, who's now at Butler. Get this, Jeff, 311 rushing yards against Lafayette Jeff last year in the playoffs. That's not too shabby. And that was a quarterback. To my point, not a lot of forward passes coming out of Warsaw, but they're tough. Graduation really depleted them. I think they had 13 or 14 starters gone on both sides of the ball, so they're going to have to plug some guys in. But it's a big school; they'll be just fine. And then Snider on the other side of it. My goodness, talk about graduation losses. I mean, Brandon Logan stands out, of course. Landon Fry was playing baseball at IU. Brandon playing baseball and football at Notre Dame. Their quarterback's gone. Some of the receivers, the defense across the board, especially in the secondary, is totally wiped out. But then they've got 5 linemen back and their tight end, Owen Dodson. And, most coaches will tell you, especially run-first programs like Snider, when you get your line back, and then you've got 2 very capable backs in Jordan Davis and Braylon Burton. I mean, those are really, really good guys. They're going to be just fine. If that passing game develops And if that secondary can come along, that would be my biggest concern if I was a Snider fan, because I think graduation took its toll there the most. But again, it's Snider football. We shouldn't feel sorry for them. They're going to be just fine.
Yeah, I'm excited to see them this year. It's going to be a new look. And, Casey, sometimes they don't have that prototypical quarterback in place, and then they go find a guy that can just wow you. This Friday night, it's going to be Jaywin Harris, the junior, 5'10", 160. And you just nailed it right there, Casey. You got Crosby Daniels, 6'3", 285, your right tackle. That's the strong side tackle. How about Sebastian Lewis, a sophomore at 6'2", 260? So right there, the strong side of the offensive line is very, very strong.
Yep.
Sawyer Titman was second team all conference last year. He's moving from offensive guard to center. I believe most of the year he played guard last year. Now, this is a guy that was getting reps as a sophomore.
Basically a 3-year starter. Yeah.
Yeah, with the Panthers. And then you got another senior in Leland, goes 6 foot 200. Isaiah Caldwell's a sophomore. And then you have Jordan Davis, first team all conference. He returns at running back.
Pretty good.
Hey, you know what? We got two really good running backs, Jordan Davis, Braylon Burton. We need them both on the field. So Burton's going to be your starting H-back, 6 foot, 180 pounds, just a sophomore. So, yes, they graduated a lot, but I look at this offense and I really love it. And I think that this is going to be an outstanding game. And yes, Bart Ball, you got to be tough, don't you, Casey?
No doubt.
Snider, is there a tougher program in Northeast Indiana? The kids are going to be.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean these are physical, disciplined, hard-nosed kids that come out of those programs, and what a great matchup. I mean, it really is a week one matchup right out of the gate. Two teams that traditionally haven't played each other, and they're in different conferences. They're not even in the same class right now. But the fact, I mean, Snider's still in 6A, right? Is that right, Jeff? I'm going off memory.
I don't know if they went down. I'm checking. Keep talking. Right. Yeah, they're still 6A, sectional 2.
So this isn't even a preview for the playoffs, So it's a fun opening round game, and I'm selfish here, and I want to say this. I always get a little intrigued by these non-conference games for our SAC schools against the Indy schools or Ohio or whatever, but I think I lose interest pretty quickly. I like these kind of matchups, these backyard type matchups that are still very novel, still very new to the respective programs, but they're still teams that we care about. I mean, Warsaw was just in the state finals a year ago. Speaking of, Snider opens with Warsaw, 5A state finals, East Noble, 4A state finals, Bishop Luers, 3A state finals. Think of that. How many schools ever have opened against 3 state finals representatives 3 weeks in a row?
Wow.
It probably doesn't happen very often, Jeff. So talk about a meat grinder. There it is. And yet no one's going to feel sorry for Snider. And that's because they're a pinnacle program, and they've done it the right way, going all the way back to Coach Hawley and of course Coach Russ Isaacs, and then Kurt Tittman here now. 17 years? That makes me feel old. 17th year. That just doesn't even seem possible, does it?
No.
But it is, and he's done a great job. This is going to be a fun matchup, and I can't wait to watch it. Again, don't go to the bathroom, because you'll miss probably a half a quarter. It's going to be over like that.
Yeah. Warsaw last year, their first ever semi-state championship. Bart Curtis, was a winner year in, year out with Mishawaka, won a semi-state with them. But to take that program to a semi-state championship in the championship game against Decatur Central, where Casey, they held their own. I mean, they were right in that game. That was a good game.
A couple plays away from it going their way. No doubt.
The East Noble game a little bit got away, but I thought Warsaw really represented well. Now, that's very intriguing. The first 3 weeks. Absolutely. I love that, Casey. But it just seems weird, right? Because you're hosting Northrup in week 7. Next year, they're going to be at Northrup, where if they were hosting, they'd actually be on their field.
Yes.
Doesn't seem right. It's like, hey, why don't we let Northrup be the home team there so we can be the home team next year?
Yeah, dropping off game nights today at the locker room, I always have my own little way to get out there. And it was so funny to, I had to find Joshua was his name. He was like, I don't know, one of their maintenance guys, and he was able to help me get where I needed to go with game night out on the Snider property. So a lot of fun, exciting times, and what a great game to kick off the season for both these teams.
Yeah, and just real quick, I know we're going to get to him in a little bit, but Braylon Fertil, the strong side linebacker, 6'1", 196, had a great sophomore season last year, really looks the role in the uniform. Let's keep an eye out on Braylon, number 4, in this matchup, because there's going to be a lot of tackles, like you said, a lot of running plays from Warsaw, and a guy like that is going to be up to the task.
Yeah.
Kenyon Conklin, they got some guys back.
They've got some guys back there, and Fertile or Fertile, that kid, his dad played for the Freedom, and he is Alf. Yeah, Big Alf. He is, he's more of an edge guy, I think, an outside guy, but he is phenomenal, and he made our PT 40.
And let's just go full circle with it. Alf was a All-American defensive lineman at the University of St. Francis. He was basically, I think he was the part of Kevin Donnelly's first year. If I remember correctly, he had transferred from Manchester to St. Francis in the inaugural season of 1998.
Did you put that up on the screen, or am I just seeing it on my screen from Jake?
No, that's Jake. Jake the Snake is chiming in over here. He says, Warsaw versus Snider will be a war. 2 storied, tough programs. Can't wait.
Well, and it says X there for Twitter or X, but I'm going to pretend that that's his son's name, because I always butcher his name. I love him. God love him. Jake's wearing his game night shirt there. It's the best. Jake, we're praying for your dad, Gary. Get well.
100%.
I mean, I've been, working the beads nonstop, praying for a full recovery. So hang in there, buddy. We'll get you back in the fold here soon. All right, do you want to talk about the poster real quick? Yeah, let's do it. You
want to hold that for the end?
Sure. Yeah, let's do that. Go up just to the real quick, 1 minute on that. This is our on-campus feature. Again, where Jackson did a Purdue column, Mora, my daughter, did an IU one. I think Mora's was more fun to write. Jackson's not so fun to write because of the dichotomy of seasons. I mean, IU football, as we talked about at the top, unbelievable, and Purdue was a really rough go of things. But I know Jackson and the Purdue fans are really pumped about Coach Odom coming over from UNLV. I think he's not going to be a great coach. I think, does it translate into a berth in the CFP? I doubt it, but anything's possible in today's day and age. And they had, I think, 55 guys come out of the portal, did Purdue. So there'll be a lot of energy and a lot of new faces there. And so really excited about on campus, having Jackson's going to kind of head that up, but we have some other freelance writers that are going to contribute. I might even throw some things into the mix, but it could be, NAIA stuff. It could be Division 3, 2, Division 1, all over the place. And we've got credentials for IU and Purdue games already. We're looking at Illinois, Michigan State, Michigan, and a few others. Notre Dame at this point declined us. I know. Go figure, huh?
You know who else they declined? I mean, I don't want to get into it, but we can just say somebody's grandfather that was at a lot of Leo games the last couple of years is not a real big fan of Notre Dame right now. I'll just leave it at that.
That's fair. Yeah, that's fair. I'm still hopeful that they see what we're doing, and they're like, I've covered Notre Dame games, for over 30 years, all the way back to my New Sentinel days and even before. So a little disappointed, but whatever. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. I didn't really have that many games I wanted to go to. I'm more interested in IU, Purdue, Ball State. We're going to cover. So yeah, we're excited about this feature. We hope our readers are too. It'll help us branch out a little bit. So thank you, Jeff. Let's get we'll come back to the PT 40 at the end. Let's talk briefly Angola DeKalb, maybe just a minute or two on this, because you're not covering this game, I don't believe, but I'll just give you my 2 cents real quick. To me, this is the Seth Wilcox Bowl. The former DeKalb coach is now the defensive coordinator at Angola. And so that didn't take long to throw those two back into the mix, right? So he's coming back to his alma mater where he played. Seth played at DeKalb, and then of course he coached there for 4, 5, 6 years, and left last year. I think not necessarily on the best of terms. Could be wrong about that, but I don't think it was his choosing. And then in steps Ryan Robertson defensive coordinator at East Noble, who was on the program last year during the playoffs. I like Coach Robertson a lot. I think he's a really smart, young, energetic coach that will infuse some energy into DeKalb's program. And I think Seth will help Angola defensively. I mean, Coach Thomas needed a defensive coordinator. He's his guy. So that's the storyline here in this game between these two. And I think this is a really, really good matchup that could go either way.
Yeah, and I'm excited for Coach Robertson. We had him on the show last year, Casey. He's a great guy. They absolutely loved him in Kendallville. Bringing in Coach Stewart, I think it was nice for Coach Amstutz to bring in somebody from the outside that also has this strength and conditioning background. And then Coach Robertson to land over at DeKalb, they fight for the same players. So I think it's a perfect pickup for the Barons. I absolutely love Coach Robertson, a defensive coordinator last year. And it's going to be fun. It's going to take some time for sure, because you got to win over players once again that just border that line. I mean, Belmont deals with it with having to battle with Adams Central and South Adams. So It's just a natural thing that, I mean, it seems like the last couple of years, more and more kids are going to go where they want to go and feel most comfortable. And to your point, Casey, with Coach that Wilcox, that I believe you're right. It wasn't by his choosing, but I think they got a new AD because they kind of cleaned house. They got rid of volleyball, they got rid of boys basketball, girls basketball, and football, and just brought in some new coaches.
Yeah, and maybe that was part of the strategy, part of the plan. I don't know. I don't get into a lot of the politics of those decisions. I know you don't either. All I know is I like Coach Wilcox a lot. I like Coach Robertson a lot, and I wish them both well in their respective duties this year at Angola and at DeKalb. So why not just put them together in week one and let's get after it? So it's going to be fun. It will be a fun game, a great environment. The weather is going to be perfect. So this game could go either way. I think DeKalb maybe a slight edge, but we'll see. Mm-hmm. All right, the next one here, Heritage at Belmont. You just mentioned Belmont, Jeff. I love Coach Nick Hall. We talked about this briefly already, Jeff, earlier today. I feel so bad for Coach Hall because, he played on that 2008 state championship team. He knows what it's like to play for a winner. He knows what it's like to play for a state champion. It's their only one in school history. And year after year after year, you think, okay, is this year that they turn the corner a little bit? And I really thought this, and it still may be, because their freshman team, I believe, had 3 wins last year, which is the first time, I think it was what he said. Yeah. And first sub-varsity wins at all, 3 of them in close to 8 years. That says a lot. So you're talking JV and freshmen going over year after year after year. Well, it's no wonder they get up to varsity and it's 0-10, 1-9, whatever the case may be. So it's been a rough go for Coach Hall, but I love the guy. I think his heart's in the right place. He loves Belmont High School. He loves that community. He's bound and determined to do anything he can. Oh, I almost forgot. I got another prop for you. He brought this to the photo shoot. How cool is that?
It's beautiful.
Yeah, I they used to do I'm all over the map. They used to do the almost like the Florida State thing. There we go. Thanks, Jeff. I really like that logo. Former athletic director Dale Manis is the one that designed that for all their sports. So it's a nice tip of the hat to Dale.
Yeah, it looks good. Yeah, I'm leaning towards the New Haven one a little bit, but it's still nice.
Me too. Yeah, but I like the new look. I like the B for the Belmont. So, at any rate,
what am I doing here?
Right.
Hello.
Yeah, I'd rather have a big picture of you than me. Let's do that. But I again, this is probably Heritage's game to lose. I mean, they're going to have a big talent edge across the board. Yeah. Belmont does have some nice pieces, I think, in the trenches on both sides. A lot of those kids are two-way guys, like Grady Baker comes to mind. He made our PT 40. Lucas Weber is a phenomenal player. I mean, he could have a huge night running the rock tomorrow night. I wouldn't be surprised if he eclipsed 200 yards. And Zeb Tagulis is the new QB out there. Yeah. And when he showed up at the photo shoot, I thought I was looking at Big Brother Eli. I mean, they look exactly alike, and it freaked me out a little bit. I was like, "Whoa, wait a second! I thought you graduated. I've got my facts wrong." And then he's like, "No, no, no. I'm Zeb. I'm Eli's little brother." But they look a lot alike. And of course, their dad's a great guy and a former coach and assistant coach and weight training guy. So, big fan of the Tagoulises.
Yeah, and I saw Zeb last week at Bishop Lures. He doesn't have the height yet of Eli,
No,
but he's built.
he's pretty
He's
stocky.
got a wide structure.
Yeah, no doubt about it. He's pretty stocky, and I like him. He's I think a lot like Eli in terms of personality, smiling all the time, happy-go-lucky. I think he's a natural leader, and even though he's just a sophomore, I think the kids will follow him. But they graduated some key guys last year. 4 guys that made our postseason team last year, namely Eli Tagoulis, the record-setting QB, big brother, wide receiver Braden Walter, Charlie Riddle, of offensive lineman, and of course Zeke Litchfield, 6'5" tight end who's playing volleyball in college. Those were 4 really good football players, in addition to my buddy Mason Abbott at linebacker. So they've got some guys to replace. I think they take maybe a step back this year because they're playing some of those younger guys in key spots, but we'll see. But I can't help but pull for Belmont across the board. I mean, every time they suit up, I hope that they put forth a good effort. And, I know that they had some kids decide not to come out, and that's a shame. If coach can string together a couple classes in a row and get a few wins, maybe things can turn around. So that's what we're hoping for Belmont.
Yeah, I hope so too. And I have a new worker from Decatur. So he's been working with Adams Central football for like the last 6 years. He's joining Summit City Sports.
Nice.
And he's going to have some really nice input. Unfortunately, it sounds like they may have had a little setback with the sophomore class this year, but really wishing them all the best. They have beautiful facilities there. Dale Mannis, they have great programs, but unfortunately, Adams Central, South Adams are right there. I mean, Adams Central, that thing's rolling. They look great. South Adams, we were so excited about what they did in the. It seems like they bring back everybody. Yes, I believe Heritage will take a step back in the ACAC this year, but we said that last year when they came out and they beat up on Bluffton. Bluffton was the young team with the sophomores, and Heritage was the older team with the seniors. And then they graduate and those sophomores get older. And so I think Bluffton's going to be right up there in the mix with a South Adams and an Adams Central.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And we get a couple more pages in, we'll delve into maybe a little bit more of that. Let's knock out this next game, Jeff, and talk. You mentioned Adams Central hosting Garrett. Remember last year, Jeff, this was their only loss of the whole season. Up there against the Railroaders in a great environment. As I love Garrett High School. 20-7, I believe, was the final. And to see Adams Central then run the table, make it back to state, knowing that Indy Lutheran potentially was waiting for them after losing to them 3 straight years on the 1A landscape. Well, they got beat by Linton Stockton, or they just call them Linton now, right? And so what did Adams Central do? They just blew the doors off Linton. I mean, they destroyed them like by 40 points. It was remarkable. And so they're like, who wants a 1A state title? We're just going to win it in 2A. Unbelievable. Coach Mosier was our easy choice for Coach of the Year. And this is a fun matchup. You got a new coach out at Garrett, and Chris Albertine, who was on the program last year, used to be the defensive coordinator. I assume he'll continue in that role. You think about Calder Hefty and some of those other names that are gone. They still have some really good football players coming back. One of them was one of your 5 to keep an eye on. 5 to know was Aiden Hunt. Yes. Love that kid. What a beast he is in the trenches. And he is back this year. He made our preseason team. You don't forget about Alex Guzman, faster than lightning. All 3 phases he'll contribute. Braden Nussbaum, great hair. He'll be a great running back again this year. And then sophomore Wyatt Hefty has hefty shoes to fill for his cousin Calder Hefty, who graduated. But Wyatt sounds like has really acquitted himself well in the offseason, and Coach Albertine was pretty excited about him.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, you got to remember they were up 14-0 in the semi-state game against Bishop Luers at halftime. And, it just didn't work out there in the second half, but that's great experience for the young men that are returning this season. It's hard to say that the big division is up for grabs. It's going to be interesting with Lakeland in there. West Noble did graduate their star running back, who talk about being there forever. Seth Pruitt felt like he was there forever, and his stats show it. But, this is supposed to be Lakeland's year in that conference. But, Garrett's not going to lay down for him. And,
new coach at Lakeland, too. So new system. How will that translate? That's a big question mark.
Absolutely.
I'm with you. I think it's going to be fun. This is a real bellwether game for Garrett with a new coach, how they handle this environment. Adam Central is going to want to try to avenge that loss last year. And so this is, again, I think another one of those really great week one matchups.
Yeah. And, you bring back Jamison Roach, the all-world quarterback for Adam Central. They just got a lot of really good pieces. Casey, the name escapes me, but they're tall, outside wide receiver. He goes like
Braylon. Yeah. Braylon, is it Reber?
He's going to be a problem for a lot of teams, especially there in the ACAC.
Yeah, he's a senior. They listed him mostly as a tight end last year, but I think he's going to be out wide more. Yeah, Braylon Reber. We'll see him when we get to this. Good-looking athlete. He's every bit of 6'4", 6'4.5". I think I even asked him, where are you at with colleges? And he kind of shrugged his shoulders. That's a diamond in the rough. That kid can go up and get the ball, and I think he's got D1 written all over him.
And we talked about Fravel, two-time All-Stater, goes 6'2", 220 pounds, and runs a 4.7 40. Honor roll kid. You got a guy like that on your offensive and defensive line going into your senior year. This team is nothing but confident.
Yep, 3 starters back on the offensive line, which is hard to think of. The quarterback's back. Yeah, they've got plenty of parts. They should, again, barring injuries, when you're at a small school like that, a lot of those kids play both ways. They're healthy. They're going to be a really tough out again in 2A. And, you talk about Cam Fravel. That's a kid whose recruiting is going up as well. I wouldn't be surprised if he went the academy route and followed, Landon Hepner and Stratton Fuller to Army or something.
That.
I think that he fits that mold. So,
and Casey, this is a beautiful pick here of the offensive tackle, Nate Gierkin. That's just a classic pose right there. And look at the arms on this kid.
Big, strong kid. Nice kid, too. I had a nice chat with him. He was right there on the cusp of making our PT 42. Easily could have made it. I think a 3-year starter, one of those kids that's just, probably doesn't get the attention that he deserves, like all offensive linemen. But along with Carter Beaver at center, and then, of course, Cam Fravel at guard. Those are the 3 returnees. They're going to be good again up front.
Snake eyes.
Well, and again, maybe we can talk more about this next week. I'm just going to briefly give a shout out to Jake. This is something that he came to me during the off season and said, hey, I want to do something a little differently this year with the Snake Eyes feature. And the thought process, especially in this first one, it was to kind of create a blueprint for parents going through the recruiting process. I mean, with the portal and NIL and all the crazy rules and the do's and the don'ts, Jake kind of compiled a list here for parents and players to kind of go through and maybe make some notes and highlight some things. I thought it was a worthwhile pursuit. We got this pick for Brock just to put on there, just standalone art, and you can't go wrong with a pick of Brock shot and his glistening muscles in a Miami uniform as they open up at the Irish next week at home. And so, yeah, just a fun piece. I encourage parents that want their kids to play D1 football specifically to delve into this and learn it, know it, highlight some stuff. I think Jake did a nice job compiling it. He's also going to do stuff for some of the other levels, and he's got a few other surprises coming down the pike too. And I want to thank, Mike Barber, big Leo guy with Bob Thomas Ford, for sponsoring this page. I gave him the pick of the litter from some of those and he said, no, I want to be by the Snake. It was close to his heart, is what he said, the recruiting process. And as you know, his son was a quarterback at Leo, and now I think he's a receiver or a slot guy or something in college. And, who knows, maybe he'll end up being on the center of our on-campus feature at some point while he's still playing in college. But thank you, Mike, for the support. We're excited about this feature again with Snake Eyes. And that's a great pick. Jake wanted that pick in there too, of him squatting 7,000 pounds. And I was afraid it would be too dark, especially with Jake's picture at the top. I thought it might be hard to pop off the page in print, so we went with the other. But yeah, what a great pick.
Yeah, so Brock Schott broke Miami's all-time squat record for a tight end with a 560-pound lift.
I just threw that up a little bit ago downstairs. I mean, it took me like 32 times of individual squats or whatever. But
who else likes the lift is Cam Fravel over there at Adams Central. He's a beast.
He's a beast. We got a bunch. We got a bunch that are in the college ranks and now in the high school ranks for sure. All right, leaders board. We don't necessarily need to spend a ton of time here. Mm-hmm. Titus Lehman, you look at that, over 1,000 yards between him and number 2. What a year he had a year ago. There are a lot of names on here that are not at their schools they were a year ago, which really I wasn't sure quite how to report that. So I just put the team that they're on now. But, Braden Corbett, for example, he did his 968 at Concordia. He's now the QB out at Huntington North. Jace White, we already talked about him. Lures to Wayne. D. Hoag's on here twice. And there's, a couple others. So, again, to your point earlier in the show, Jeff, the cupboard isn't bare. We've got a lot of really good talent coming back. And it happens every year. We kind of fool ourselves sometimes, but I think you and I know each other well enough now. Usually by August 1st to 10th, somewhere in that window, I think the eyebrows kind of perk up for both of us as we're delving into the names and numbers. And we're like, my goodness, we got some really good players again. And this year's no exception. So,
yeah, I think you could throw the word parity out this year, Casey. I mean, I feel like there's a lot of teams that you could say will be the conference champion.
Yeah,
maybe not so much in the ACAC and the SAC. There's a lot of parity at the top.
I think top 9. You could shuffle up in many cases and take maybe the 9th team right now as high as 3rd or 4th if things lined up, and you could take one of those top 2 or 3 teams, and with injuries they could easily fall to the middle of the pack. I agree with you, Jeff. And I think when you look at our preseason top 40, you'll see that it's spread out more than it's been many times. We have 4 or 5 guys, 6 guys maybe sometimes from one team. This year, no schools with more than 3 guys on our PT 40, which speaks to, I think, the parity. All right, let's jump over to page 22 real quick, Jeff, and talk. This is a new feature this year. I know you didn't get a ton of time to look through this yet, but this is a lot of fun. I wanted to find a way to have some more fun, get some more school names. So we took the Swami scale off the back page. You remember, it used to be our top 10. Took that off of there. Truthfully, it's because my eyes aren't very good anymore. And if I can't read this, what about the sweet grandparents in the stands? What are they saying? I used to hear from people all the time, I can't read this, Casey. The point size is too small. So the back page now is bigger, easier to read. So there's no top 10 on the back page now. Now we have this blowing smoke feature, which is going to be a ton of fun this year. It's just our top 25. This will ebb and flow. As I've talked to coaches this week, I said, don't take it too seriously. It's supposed to be tongue in cheek. We're going to have fun with it. But my dogs are not actually smoking cigars there, although they are of age. I just wanted to point that out in dog years. Annie just turned 21, so she's of age. But it's just fun, and I'll be curious to see what you think of this as we move on this year, especially if you have any thoughts here, because what you just pointed out a minute ago, Jeff, it's really tough. I went back and forth on a lot of these teams, groupings, top 5, top 10, so on and so forth. And there was a lot of movement up until, we went to press.
Well, I'm really excited about Carroll's new quarterback, Gabe Freisinger. I believe he's a junior now. I mean, that name is just synonymous in the Cherubusco, Carroll area. My barber at the barber shop in Busco, knows his dad, and so they're excited about him getting an opportunity. And I think he's going to bring more of a Jeff Becker type look to the offense. Not that Jimmy couldn't run because he led the team in rushing last year, but it's going to be a lot of fun to see Carroll and how all that stuff progresses because, man, defensively, they're still loaded, with Newhouser coming back and Ashton Wagner, and they got the safety who's getting D1 looks. Their defensive line is just stout as can be. So at first I was like, Carroll number 1. And I took a second. I was like, yeah, that's probably right. East Noble at number 2. I can definitely see it. Dwenger at number 3. I mean, I love the top 4 right here. Homestead's going to be an interesting one to follow,
Michael White at quarterback. Some really
Carter
good
Kennedy at receiver.
Kennedy. Yeah.
Carter Kennedy, you could argue, is one of the top receivers here in the 260.
No doubt about
right
it.
up there with Quay and all of them.
One of those kids that was right on the cusp of making our preseason top 40 for sure.
So, you look at it, you got Northside and Lures and Warsaw, Adams Central. I think your top 9 right here are extremely strong. I think you could probably put Leo in at 10 and have that top 10. Well, you also got Northrup too, which we just don't know, but talent-wise, they could be at number 1.
Yeah, skill guys, no doubt about it. I mean, they have the best skill guys that probably Northrup football's ever had. I mean, at least going back until to the 80s.
Bluffton down here at number 15. That's a little interesting because Bestie proved that he can flat out play. They just bring back a lot of guys.
Yep. But who do you take out above them? I mean, I thought the same thing. I even said, you know what? They're going to move up these rankings. They just will. Mm-hmm. But I mean, at this time, who'd you take above them? I mean, Southside's pretty darn good. They beat Lures last year. They got a lot of their guys back. Coach Goody's done a tremendous job, and there's a ton of energy and excitement out there. I don't know who I would take off is the point. But I hear you. Yeah, I think the Bluffton with Griffin Morgan back at linebacker, and oh my gosh, they're going to be talking to ACAC coaches and assistant coaches. That was the school name that kept coming up, besides Adams Central.
Bluffton.
But South Adams too. Look at the run they did last year, and all their key guys back. Somerset back, McKeon back. The quarterback, of course, Titus Lehman. I mean, they're loaded.
No, absolutely. And then to see West Noble down there at 22, you just kind of feel like Coach Maywater is gonna, Casey, this page right here is gonna go in the locker room before their first game of the season.
He loves to put game night on the bulletin board. He always has. I love that.
He's gonna say, look what the Swami thinks of you boys, number 22.
Did you see what he said? Air Maywater forthcoming, with Seth gone and, Schizler back at quarterback and a few other nice parts there. Who knows? They might open it up a little bit up there in Ligonier.
His boys on the coaching staff, he'll get them throwing the ball if that's what they need to do.
No doubt.
I love it though, Casey. It's a lot of fun right here, and it really makes you go,
Yeah, no, it's going to be a fun feature from week to week as teams move up and down the rankings. Some teams might stay. I mean, if Carroll runs the table, they'll stay where they're at more than likely. But they lose next week, and Swami thinks they will, or not next week, this week, tomorrow night. Then maybe they drop. There's going to be so much movement from week to week, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Again, trying to have fun with it, trying to be a little snarky, a little tongue in cheek, but also getting some different teams in there, spreading the love a little bit, getting some more kids' names out there, and trying to promote high school football. So I'm excited about this feature.
Yeah, and I'm excited, going back to Carroll, Billy Lauer, the cousin of Jimmy Sullivan, going to be a junior, is this year where he starts getting some nods there at running back, because he's a big, tough runner, had a great freshman season for him.
Yeah, he works out at Absolute Results. I've seen him. That's where the Buzzard pounds the iron with Jason Rubin over there. And I've seen Billy over there, and he's getting really solid, and he's getting some D1 offers and looks now too. So that's another kid with a family pedigree. He's going to have a great season.
Absolutely.
Yep. All right. Why don't we do real quick the center spread, if you don't mind, and the back of the center spread, the PT 40. I'll just let you kind of comment on that. Jeff, I've done enough talking. Why don't you just glance through that, ask any questions, or get my opinion on anything?
Well, to be honest with you, going through it, I was like, okay, now does he have this guy on there? Yep, there he is. Houston Ellinger is on there. Caleb Kingley, the junior running back from Northside. Absolute. I mean, the first 2 games of the season, he was one of the hottest running backs in the state of Indiana. Had a little, I think it was a little tweak to the ankle or something, but wasn't quite the same the rest of the year. But the kid is special, and he's just got that Josh Masasu, his older brother. He's got that kind of body. I mean, when he hits you, it's a different kind of feeling. It's a dense hit. You feel it inside your bones. You know what I mean?
Not only physically, but up here, temperament wise, he has similar temperament as Josh, and he wants to go through a brick wall.
Yeah,
how he plays. Yep.
Yeah, and he's cool. You know, he doesn't get rattled. You're not going to rattle him too much. Caleb, originally from the Congo, and that is where the right tackle from Lures is also from the Dominican Republic of the Congo.
Yeah. Jonas is just a little bit taller than Caleb.
A little bit.
Yeah.
But I mean, everybody I could think of was on here. We got Michael White, Mikhail Woodson. Here's Lucas Weber from Heritage, the great running back from a year ago. Jaden Van Pelt, Tryon, who might be the best offensive lineman in Northeast Indiana. Casey, is he going to Eastern Michigan or is he
Eastern? Yeah. And I think that's a great choice, you know, and I talked to Jason Fabini this summer a little bit about this. I'm kind of speaking out of school, but I think Jason really encouraged him from the standpoint, go where you're wanted. Everybody's holding out, especially for linemen. They're holding out for these big time offers and everything else. But a lot of the NIL money and everything else, let's face it, are going to quarterbacks and skill guys. Yeah. Go where you can play early. And I think that's why he ended up heading to Eastern.
If you look at Andrew Tryon in a football uniform, looks like a major Division I guy. Folks, the whole recruiting landscape has changed, okay? Because, you know, Auburn can go and get a solid Division I AA, you know, just had an outstanding. So now they're going to bring in this guy from the transfer portal that's already 21 years old. Right. That takes away a spot from one of these young guys. So you can go to an Eastern Michigan, have a great career, or you can go there, start right away, and then go in the portal after your junior year. You don't know, but
a graduate, a fifth-year graduate senior player, and go play at a bigger level if you want to improve your NFL stock or whatever. Absolutely.
But, you know, just moving on, Jaron Taylor, I mean, this kid is just, he's awesome. Not only is he an awesome football player, but they're both just studious kids, him and Ale. And, you know, the type of guys are kind of quiet. They don't bother nobody. They go about their business, but everybody loves them.
Great kids.
Can't help but love on them. You got my man.
Real quick, I got to tell you a funny story, Jeff. You'll get a kick out of this. So I used to pronounce Ale's name. I always thought it was Isle.
Me too.
I mean, I didn't know. So I was mispronouncing it, and he kind of corrected me at the photo shoot. He goes, no, it's ale, like ginger ale. I said, oh, okay. I thank you, Ale, for, you know, straightening me out. And I said, you know what you need to do? Going into the football season, you need to get your hair colored orange and call yourself Ginger Ale. He kind of smirked. And for a second there, I thought maybe I had him convinced. We'll see. If you see him running on the sideline with orange hair, you'll know that it was the Swami influence. But I'm not holding out any hope. But at any rate, that's my joke of the night. He thought it was pretty funny.
And ale, if you don't have any ginger ale around, what is it, about 85% Sprite, 15% Coke, and you'll have yourself a ginger ale.
That's what it is.
So, you know, Gavin Smith, I love this kid from Columbia City. He's super dynamic, a great defender. He's a ball hawk. He can intercept that ball. Hunter Shire, Weston Ott. Weston Ott is a 3-sport athlete at Cherubusco. Yeah. And as my barber said, he's a farmer that throws the shot and discus. Folks, this is a kid that could be a D1 field events in track and field.
Yeah,
he's that good. That plays football, and he dominates in football, that also plays basketball. So, you know, Weston comes from a farming family, and they're just hard-nosed dudes. Everybody loves Weston Ott in Cherubusco. We talked about Neuheiser. You talked about Morgan, Malik, and all those guys. There's Aiden Hunt who also is he pours concrete. He's a construction worker. So throughout high school, he's not lazy sitting on the couch in the summer. He's out in the 90-degree heat pouring concrete. And I love that from Aiden, because that's a skill that he can take with him, Casey, 5 years from now.
No doubt.
I mean,
about
10 years from now, become a foreman, make lots of money. D. Hogue, I agree with you. I think he's the best DB in Northeast Indiana. Hasselman, Quay speaks for itself. Fertil, that's solid right there, Casey. Fertil is one of those guys that doesn't jump out right away at you because of maybe a lack of accolades, just because he plays in the tough SAC. I mean, last year, all of their first team defenders were seniors.
Right.
And they had four
shared,
of them.
yeah, and they shared the tackling load and all the stats. They really kind of spread it around. So his numbers were a little bit misleading, but I think he's a really interesting prospect at the next level.
And so a lot of these guys here have all those great accolades, but I'm with you 100% that Fertil should be on this list. Biddle, Mikhail Bottles, Xavier Bell. We'll have it up on Summit City Sports. We'll post it tomorrow morning, Casey, and then everybody can get it game night at the stadiums tomorrow. And I'll be at Leo. Casey, every time I go into Leo, the old timers running the clock and stuff, they all got their game nights out.
Awesome.
There'll be 5 of them. I'm going to take a picture and text it to you because I know those guys are going to be reading it.
Awesome. Well, I was excited about this particular poster this year, Jeff, because as you notice, there's no ads on it. We did it on the back side of the on-campus feature and devoted the entire, pull out to the preseason team. And we haven't done that in the past. So it's big and bold. And I love the design that Jessica Newland did with the kind of the football field. And I was really pleased. And again, were there about 10 or 15 dudes, 20 dudes that easily could have been on this? No doubt about it. No schools had more than 3 guys represented, probably more quarterbacks. I kind of went against my rule than I wanted to. Some of these guys are going to have to play defense, like a Riley Biddle, maybe.
Right.
Hawk Hasselman, great athlete.
Yep.
Quentin Brock from Warsaw. I mean, those are just stud athletes that are going to play on any team in our area. If they're not the guy under center, they're playing in the slot, out wide, at running back, at safety, somewhere. They're on the field. So we have more quarterbacks than normally I would like, but it felt to me like this was our top 40, and it was a lot of fun to put together.
If there was one guy, because I don't see him, I didn't see him earlier. If there's one guy, maybe Carter Kennedy, the receiver from Homestead.
No doubt.
But I can pick 2 or 3 guys from every team.
Jimmy Linker from Huntington North. He had great numbers on both sides of the ball.
Yep.
Another one. There's don't even get me started because there's literally a laundry list of probably about 20 guys that you could make a strong argument to be on here. So
Wyatt Shearer.
Yeah, Wyatt Shearer is another one. Yeah, no, it's an impossible task. But again, a lot of fun. It's great for conversation, and it's fun to highlight, 40 deserving guys, but doesn't mean that other 40, 60, 80 guys won't get plenty of love from game night this year and Summit City. They will, because that's what we're about.
Yep. They won't go unnoticed for sure. Yep.
Okay, well, I don't know if you want to go to the back page real quick and just maybe we can just talk about a couple of the featured games if you want. Why don't I'll let you take it away and just maybe read through a couple of those, what you think of some of those spreads. If you think the week 1 is so hard, Jeff, as you know, and not knowing a ton about some of these teams. The crystal balls, of course, are always a little cloudy too. They've been sitting in a shelf.
Yeah, so East Noble at Wayne, Knights, too much weaponry. I mean, you got a great quarterback. Not that Wayne doesn't, but, Coach Roberts or Coach Stewart in his second year taking over for Coach Amstutz, who's the AD. Casey, that's a lot of continuity right there. East Noble's just way too much for Wayne this year. I was thinking running clock, and you got them winning by 19. Lures.
29.
I'm sorry, 29.
Yeah, that's all right. Yep. Yeah, but real close. I think we're both within 6 points. That sounds about right.
Bishop Lures. If Lures can't avoid turnovers, the visitors win 1 by 2 scores. So Lures by 13. I think it's going to be closer than that. And you just nailed it on the head right there. You got some sophomores, and You kind of got a little bit of the jitters, even though a lot of these guys have experience in varsity games, but now the spotlight's on them.
Right.
And you go to the other side of the ball, and you look at Leo, Nate Foster, Isaiah Kuhlman, those guys, cool, calm, and collected. Nate Foster last year averaged 9.8 yards per carry, folks. That's ridiculous.
And he had a great game against Lures right out of the chute, and he kind of introduced himself week 1.
100%. I mean, he'd have his best games against the biggest competition. I mean, Nate Foster is a guy that, oh man, we're down by 17 against East Noble. Boom, there's Nate Foster, 85-yard touchdown run. Sweet, we're back in this game. I love that kid so much. I love watching him play. And I think because of that, it will be less than 13 points.
Okay.
Northrup at New Haven. Bulldogs are hoping for some serious ground and pound. I like this too. Some people think it's going to be a lot closer, maybe 7 points, but Northrup still wins. I think Northrup comes out and puts on a little bit of a show with their new arsenal.
Yeah. I think New Haven keeps this close if DJ Simpson has a big game and they just keep the ball and they just bleed that clock. That's the only way. If they get behind the chains or have a turnover, they're not going to get into a shooting match. There's no way. Northrup's just got way too much, productivity with their skill guys. I think 19 sounds about right, but it could be more. We'll see.
Now, I did not see D Hogue listed on the 3 deep that Coach Bowen sent us, Casey, but at any time they can put D Hogue in the offensive backfield, and make no mistake about it, he will be one of the biggest weapons in Northeast Indiana in that scenario.
Yep.
Snider by 10. This one might be over by 9 o'clock, as you said. Save your bathroom break for halftime. And I like this, Casey. A lot of people are thinking that Warsaw is going to win this game. Snider can punch you in the mouth too.
Yeah,
Snider
game will be the difference. I think it's low scoring, 17-7, 20-10, something like that.
Yeah, and obviously both teams are going to be schemed up for this one with Bart Curtis, Kurt Tittman, two of the best coaches the state's ever seen.
Yeah, and they're both Coach Kurt.
Yeah.
And that's something too. Another stuff, yeah.
Angola at DeKalb by 8. I don't know about that one right there. That's going to be a fun game right there. I can't talk too much about it, but DeKalb by 8, that'd be a good way to open your career as a head coach for Coach Robertson for sure.
Right.
Heritage
against the former coach, Seth Wilcox is going to know that DeKalb personnel inside and out. So if I was a betting man, and I'm not, I might be taking the Hornets +8. But go ahead.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Because I was thinking maybe more like 3 or 4, and it could go either direction.
Okay.
Heritage at Belmont. Heritage by 35, and I don't think that normally Heritage would win this game by 35, but I'm not sure what's going on at Belmont right now. I just heard some kids have left the program, and it's very frustrating because, yes, the strength was supposed to be the freshman and sophomore class, and it was supposed to build into something special 2 years from now. But, we live in a different society where everybody wants it right now, Casey. And to build something from scratch, I mean, Coach Hall's got a lot of good coaches around him and a great AD to help get that back on track. But unfortunately, something's off right now. Yep. Garrett at Adams Central by 14. I could see that being 21. But I think you're right there. Garrett's got too much pride. Remember, 2 years ago, they're the team that knocked out a heavily favorited Heritage out of sectionals.
And beat AC last year by 13. It was the Flying Jets' only loss. So that could be, that's a 27-point swing from last year. So we'll see.
Hamilton Southeastern and Carroll, you got HSC by 17. I could see it. Concordia and Cecina by 7. If that's the case, then I think that's a good way to start off for Concordia. I mean, you lose your starting running back and Victor Sawyer and Braden Corbett, one of your quarterbacks, but Coach Manigle's tough. He's no newbie to this stuff, and he's going to have his guys ready to go. Concordia always plays hard, Casey.
Yeah,
you don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, and he'll have a good game plan in place, for that road test.
The Royals have 10 state titles. Saints don't care. Saints have a few state titles as well. What is it, Casey? 5? And Dwenger by 8. I love that. I mean, Dwenger could be a team that upsets a Carroll or a Snider that
because that defense is going to be awesome.
Defense is going to be awesome. I mean, you win the SAC after all the years of, why just schedule the tough teams at the beginning of the schedule and stuff like that. Remember, they always got better after that. But yeah, and the young kids there, they got some real young talent coming up.
Some young talent, and I'm excited. I think Henry Jordan has really worked hard in the offseason. I'm hearing great things about him. Beckham Russell at receiver. I mean, really goes up and gets those balls in traffic and can take a hit.
Yep.
They've got a really good, talented junior receiver transfer, I believe, from Carroll that's got great speed. And some, I mean, a lot of other kids. Cooper Campbell is back. Had a great season last year as a sophomore.
I believe he's going to be playing middle linebacker.
That's what I'm hearing. They've got a lot of really good parts. Houston Ellinger, we mentioned him. Many others. A lot of guys back on the line too. So again, for my money, can the Saints find an offensive identity and then keep it? Find it, identify it, and see it through to the end. It's just felt like in recent years that the Saints are kind of sometimes grabbing at straws offensively, and you just never knew from game to game, quarter to quarter, series to series, what you were going to get offensively. If they can find some semblance of an offense that is effective and efficient, maybe get back to some of that traditional pounding the rock, but also going, spreading the ball out when necessary to keep people on their toes, but just find that identity, whatever that means in terms of production. This is a team that I think that could be playing for a 4A state title.
And that's what I'm hearing, Casey. Sling the ball all over the field, maybe sling it a little bit more than you have in past years. And I'm also hearing about a sophomore running back that's going to be backing up Gus Tittman. That could be a problem for some teams.
Yeah, I'm hearing some good things about him as well. And I'm excited about the future of Bishop Dwenger football, but the future is now. And a lot of these kids have been playing varsity football for 2 and 3 years now. And again, knock on wood, if they're healthy, that defense is as good as it is statewide, truthfully, especially in 4A. So they're going to be a tough out.
Yeah, and the future's now for all the teams because you got to play for your seniors.
Yep.
You got to back those guys. They paved the way, and many before them did. Southside at Marion, Southside by 6. They've been getting better and better every single year under Coach Goodwell. And last year, like you said, at home, knocking off a Lures team that ends up going to Class 3A state championship game. I'm excited for them. They got South Bend St. Joe week 2 at home. So let's pack the stands over there.
Yeah,
show the guys a good time.
South lost a heartbreaker last year against Marion to kickstart the season. I think they flipped the tables this year and get that dub.
Was that an overtime game, Casey?
I don't know if it was or not. I know it was a 1-score game.
Yeah, but either way, I mean, that was the game where it was still on when all of the rest of our games were finished. So everybody got to YouTube and went to the Marion.
It was overtime, 27-21. And I feel like Southside might have been leading almost the whole game. Like we kept getting scores and they were up by a touchdown, almost consistently the whole game. And I think maybe Marion stole it late. But yeah, it'd be nice to see him flip the script this year.
Homestead against Westfield at Westfield, and Westfield by 24. The Rocks are different. They're just a different beast now. I mean, Marion County is rolling with their high school athletics. You look at it in every single sport, the top 25 is just littered with Marion County. You got a few from the region and a few down in Evansville. Unfortunately, the 260 really statewide has probably been the least represented when you look across the board, Casey, like baseball, softball, all that stuff. And Westfield is just a juggernaut. They're part of that. They were like that first farm area to grow and get established. And now the growth is more, I think, southwest in Indy. So,
Hamilton, Southeastern, you got Fishers, you got Noblesville, Carmel. right? All those schools in that northwest side of Indianapolis are just, the population growth is the last 25, 30 years has been massive.
Northridge at Northside. Northside went to Middlebury and ambushed the Amish in 2024, 32-20. This year, Northside wins by 9. And it's one of those games where as long as you keep your composure and you do what the coaches coach you to do, you shouldn't have a problem beating Northridge. But do understand that Northridge is not going to do many things, if any, wrong.
No, they're well coached and they're going to be physical. They don't have the athletes necessarily that Northside does, and that's where Northside, I think, has an advantage. But I'm with you. As long as Northside doesn't have silly turnovers and penalties, I'm excited about their new QB. Coach BJ just seems like they reload every year. A little bit under the radar, it feels like, going into this season, but a lot of talent. I'm excited to see the Legends.
And I think Coach likes it that way, because you're right. Before, there was so much buzz because of Tay and just all the stars, and they still have the stars, but it does seem like it was a quieter offseason.
Yeah,
I would agree with you. So then we got Columbia City at Northwood. I believe Gabe McDevitt going to be getting the start at quarterback. That's Jake's guy. And they also got the transfer from Kentucky that brings a lot of athleticism. I believe he's only a sophomore. I had heard that their best offensive lineman left the team, but they do have really good offensive linemen returning. It's one of the strengths of their squad, kind of like when Jackson Geiger was suiting up for the Eagles.
Yep.
So I'll be excited to see Columbia City.
Yep. Sam Bean's a really good high school football player. And you mentioned already Gavin Smith. There's a couple Columbia City guys that I think will provide that leadership and keep them in that top 2 or 3 in the Northeast 8.
Yeah, most definitely. Eastbrook at Huntington North. You got Huntington North by 4, and it feels like that. I mean, Huntington North went to Northside and really played well with the Legends. Coach Esbox, he's just turned around that program. They're just not going to be an easy out anymore.
Yeah, it's a pretty remarkable turnaround if you think about it. And the kid last year, what was it, Decker, the quarterback? That's a huge loss. I mean, he was such a leader and he did so many things, but they've got some nice kids back. We mentioned Jimmy Linker, really good athlete, decent size, good, hard-nosed, tough football players, and they've got great helmets. And I've been angling. They've got the new red helmets. I've been sending Coach text messages like around the clock. Let me know. I'll swing by. I need that helmet for the cave. So, Coach, if you're watching, I need a new Huntington North helmet. The red is just fabulous.
Yeah, Coach Esbox, he went in there. Remember, he was at Concordia for a year. Really didn't feel like a good fit. Didn't work out that well. Goes to Huntington North, and he's gotten the guys to buy in. And like I said, they're no easy out. They're a tough-nosed team. Mississinawa at Norwell. Ole Miss by 23. Unfortunately, yes, that's the case. And Ole Miss is a power. They're a team that can make it to semi-state year in, year out, any year. They just have a great program. And, the Knights have just been down a little bit. And if you think about Norwell throughout the history of the football program, you want to talk about ebbs and flows. You got your Chandler Harnish. We're up here. Your Pearson Harnish. We're up here. Your Brody Bolin. And your Crafts. And your Grafts. But, in between those pockets, you don't have superstars like that. And those are superstars. I mean, they're all Division I guys, even though Pearson Harnish went to the University of St. Francis. It's like a 4-time All-American, and he turned down bigger schools to stay closer to home.
Yep. No, for sure. And Coach Gerber, he was our coach of the year a few years ago during Brody's senior year. And when they had that magical run, I think they'll be a little better this year in some areas. I think their offensive line actually might be pretty strong. Some big kids. 4 of them came out. We got a great pick of them with pancakes and syrup and stuff. They brought their own props this year.
You said that was the first time, right?
First time, yeah. So that was pretty cool. And I don't think Ole Miss is quite as good as they were a year ago because of graduation. That being said, I think they do have some edges across the board talent-wise. So I think 21 to 24 points sounds about right.
And how about this one here? Blackford at Jay County. Got Jay County by 32, and they're breaking in a new coach.
Yeah, I think the Patriots have a lot of talent, and some of the coaches are, fairly high on this program this year. And it's a bigger school in the ACAC, and they've kind of been under the radar previously under Coach Zagunda. But yeah, I think they could sneak up on people this year.
Yeah, and Blackford not necessarily known for winning football games, even though last year they won two, which was a big upgrade in the past 3 years. But remember at Jay County, Eddie Fields,
Yep.
right, Casey? He did a good job at Southside. He was a pretty good head coach at Southside. They had that incident at Indianapolis Tech where
Yes.
it was on Sports Center and stuff. But Eddie Fields did a really good job over there at Southside. They played tough under
Yeah.
him.
Yeah. I'm excited to see Coach Fields back in Northeast Indiana and as a head coach, and looking forward to working with him this year and seeing what JC can do.
Bluffton at Shenandoah.
Yeah, Van Morrison has a great song called Shenandoah, and spin it sometime. If it'll pull out your Irish roots.
I
At
feel
any
like
rate,
there's like a teepee there, maybe a peace pipe at Shenandoah or something.
or a glass of Irish whiskey. I'm not
Mm.
sure. Oh, wait a second. I was on the Van Morrison train still. Sorry, Jeff. Yeah, I think you're probably right. I don't know much about Shenandoah. I think Bluffton by 27 sounds about right. Knowing Coach Kunkel, you look at his scores through the years, they don't really run it up on people. I also know he's the kind of guy I think plays it a little closer to the vest sometimes, doesn't show all his cards, saves a few treats for Santa, if you will. And I think this is a game the Tigers win easily, but maybe the score doesn't reflect it at the end.
Hey, Shenandoah was 6-5 last year, and they traveled to Fremont and won 25-0. So that's pretty good.
Yep.
South Adams at Marion, local Ohio. Marion by 39. Casey, Marion is the anti-Elmhurst, winners of 64 straight. Solid reference.
64 in a row. So I texted, Coach Mosier, just, as I'm piecing this together, you can only find some cursory information. And I thought, well, I'm just going to go right to the source. And I said, do you guys take care of Marion local or whatever? And he kind of scoffed at it. Like, well, wait a second. Do you know their background? I mean, they've won, like, I don't know, 4 state titles in a row or, whatever. I mean, 64 in a row is pretty remarkable. And so it's going to be a tough matchup, I think, for the Starfires. But South Adams, I joked with him. I said, you're going to be known as the new Bishop Dwinger if you keep scheduling like this early, teams out of state that are, national juggernauts. And he laughed. He thought that was kind of funny. But, to that point, I think they wanted to, they had a void. They had to fill in the schedule. They thought, hey, they need an opponent. We feel pretty good about our program. Let's go. Let's take on all comers. So I'm intrigued to see how it winds up. I could be totally wrong. Maybe South Adams rises up and breaks the 64-game winning streak, and they're on David Letterman next week.
Do you by chance know what division they play in Ohio? I mean, obviously
7. I feel like they have 7 divisions, so I think they're a small school. So
they have success factor there though. Because 7 would be the smallest division, 1 would be the biggest.
Right. So I don't know. I mean, if they've won 64 in a row, they should be moved up. I don't know, Jeff, the answer to that question.
Southern Wells at Elwood. Southern Wells by 1.
Yeah. The Raiders.
Jake and Elwood ever beat Dwenger?
That was my senior year. 1913 in the snow. Oh, just tragic.
Oh, man. But, looking at Southern Wells there, head coach is Blake. Let me pull it up. Blake Blaker, who was an East Side star. He ended up with a full ride scholarship to Ball State. I mean, the guy was just a big athlete, and then finished his career at the University of St. Francis. I believe he was a Huntington North assistant, and now at his second year at Southern Wells.
And he'll turn them around.
0-10 last year, but Casey, this would be huge to open up the season at Elwood with a win.
Talking to some other coaches, again, I don't want to drop any names because I don't want to betray any trust, but at least 2, maybe 3 mentioned to me Southern Wells looks like a team on the rise. Now, what that translates into wins and losses this year, I don't know, but I'm hearing really good things out of Ponito. And I think Coach Blake gets things going in the right direction. It may take a few years. Remember, they had some proud tradition once upon a time. Southern Wells, I think
they won a state championship in 2001, I believe.
Right. But they have fallen off the map, almost like Belmont, maybe even more dramatically than Belmont, because Belmont's was 2008. But as much as I believe in Coach Nick Hall, I think the coach down in Southern Wells might be cut of the similar mold and will get things turned around. At least I hope so.
Yeah, you certainly do. And Casey, have you been to Southern Wells? Is that further south than Jay County?
No, I don't believe so. I think it's west of there, I believe, and I don't think it's further south. I think Jay County is a little further south. Yeah, it's been a while since I've been down there.
Yeah, their last winning season was 2015. Steve Yenser was the coach, 7-4 for Southern Wells. Yenser had a nice little career.
He had a nice run. Yeah, he had a nice run.
Okay, let's get back to it. East Side at Woodland, East Side by 18. Wow, Casey, that's the one right there. You might make a few people mad in Brock Rohrbacher land, because I think he's getting that thing turned around. East Side, you're right. I mean, they're strong. They bring back Lincoln Carter, the running back.
Actually, I'm not sure if Lincoln's playing this year. I could be wrong.
Oh, wow.
I'd have to check the depth chart, but Joe Richmond's back. Who else? The Warsler kid made our PT Forder, Jake. Phenomenal two-way player. They got a really big, strong tight end that looked impressive, who's getting college looks. Decent line play. Again, no depth. They're 1 or 2 injuries away from losing 4 or 5 spots plus special teamers and being a different team. I think they still have an edge over Woodland from the standpoint that I think they were the better team a year ago. Mm-hmm. Woodland has a really small senior class. I feel like maybe just 3 or 4 guys.
Yep.
So but their young guys are really good. I'm excited to see their young quarterback, some of their other skill guys. I think Woodland football could be really good in a year or 2 for sure, but they might still be a year off. We'll see. This will be a great barometer. I could be totally off on that, but my feeling is like 28-10, something like that. And I think the Blazers just are going to be a little bit better, but it is in Woodburn. And that's a little different environment. And very proud program. Coach Rohrbacher does a great job. And, if Woodland can run the ball, get their play action game going and score early, watch out. The Warriors could surprise.
Yeah. And going back to Lincoln Carter, like if he's not playing this year, then it's to concentrate on wrestling, because last year he took on Ethan Doster, the reigning state champion, the first ever individual state champion from New Haven. I believe Ethan is wrestling at Rutgers, but Lincoln beat him down at state.
No, Lincoln's a phenomenal wrestler, and that could be it. I might be wrong about that. I don't know. They weren't one of our featured games. I'm going off memory here. He was not at the photo shoot. I will say that. But yeah, that, if indeed that's the case, you can't blame Lincoln for putting all his eggs into that basket, because that's his future. Phenomenal wrestler. But they've got some other parts there. I don't know if they'll miss him as much as one would think in terms of toting the rock. I think they got 2 or 3 other guys that will fill that void.
Yeah. So looking at Lincoln right here, he was 31-2 last year. One of those losses, I believe it was in the semifinals of state. And then he had lost to Easton Doster the first time on February the 8th, a 5-2 decision, but then turned around and beat him. And that just shocked the world right there when Carter took down Doster.
Yeah, it was like a scene from Vision Quest. I love that movie. Isn't that a great movie? Great 80s sports movie. Have you ever seen it, Jeff?
I don't think I have. Vision Quest?
Oh my gosh, rent it. Yeah, rent it, stream it, whatever people do these days, pirate it. Vision Quest with Matthew Modine. What a great, and I'm not a wrestling fan per se. It's a great sports movie.
Is that Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Matthew Modine?
No. That's Matthew Broderick. You're thinking. Matthew Modine is a guy that plays one of the strange doctors in Stranger Things. He's older now. This is going back into the 80s, but he's phenomenal in Vision Quest. Trust me on this. Great sports movie.
I'm writing it down. Bremen at Busco. The Leapers have been tough at home, not so much on the road. The Leapers?
Well, Coach Leaper. Yeah,
Okay.
up at Freeman. Yeah, I mean, that's a proud program, but the Lions have not really been what they used to be. They've kind of taken a step back. And I think Cherubusco could be sneaky good this year. I mean, that's your community. I mean, what are you hearing? Do you think the Eagles are
I'm hearing sophomore quarterback, think Calder Hefty.
okay?
They,
Yeah,
they they feel like they got some really good young talent there, and you know as well as anybody, Casey. I mean, if you got a signal caller that you can rely on and that can make plays for you, you're going to be in a lot of games.
no doubt. No doubt. Yeah,
And
I
not
can always tell when Coach Sade, he was a little guarded this year preseason. I don't think the senior class is super strong, but there are some nice parts, like a Weston Ott. There are a couple other kids. I feel like there's two brothers that might be twins that are back there, good football players. Their name escapes me, but I think Cherubusco actually will probably be pretty good by the end of the year. That's
yeah, Cherubusco, it's a farming community. And when you have a senior like Weston, I mean, he's going to get every single one of those kids to fall right in line. And Casey, that's a good thing there for Coach Paul Sade.
Yep.
Plus, Hayden Kilgore, who used to be the head coach at Central Noble and was an assistant, is now
JD.
the athletic director
Yep.
at Cherubusco.
I saw that.
And that's huge for them because it's just kind of a little shot in the arm there for the athletic program.
Yeah, he's a football guy.
He's a football guy and he's a younger guy, and he's just I think it's going to be a really good fit for them at Cherubusco.
Totally agree.
Blackhawk at Fremont by 6. Wow. You would expect Fremont to maybe take this game with a couple more points, but Blackhawk, what, in year 3 now?
Yeah, I mean that's a program. Coach Bennett's just they're just kind of hanging around, trying to improve year by year. Um, they say a lot of times it takes into your third year before you start seeing the fruits of that labor. We'll find out. Coach Bennett 2-17 and after 2 seasons. Is this the year that they turn the corner? We'll find out. They look at some of their scores last year. They lost to Fremont late in the season. I think there's an opportunity there maybe for, them to come back. They had a lot of kids last year that played that are back this year. They remember that 56-0 loss. I think that's maybe why it's closer. We'll find out.
Their worst loss of the season was at home against Fremont.
Yep.
I mean, Fremont had an opportunity to lay it on the Blackhawk Christian Braves, and they did just that.
Yep. Yeah, they took them to the woodshed, so we'll see.
Casey, that would be a huge win for that program to open up at Fremont and get the dub. I love that right there. You're gonna put a shot of Red Bull in those guys right there heading up to Fremont. Yep. Okay, Goshen at Fairfield. Fairfield by 35.
Yeah, I think that's a running clock, and maybe Goshen scores late. Fairfield, I like their young coach. They've got a really good offensive lineman, but the last name Almame maybe, or it escapes me, but he's a pretty big dude and pretty good offensive lineman. They scored 55 last year against Goshen. I mean, think about Goshen. That was not too long ago. Really, really solid 5A program back in the days when there was only 5 classes, and they have kind of fallen on hard times, I'd say, the last 10, 15 years.
That's
so
where that's where Notre Dame great Rick Meyer was the quarterback, was at Goshen High School for the Redskins.
I'm glad you mentioned that.
Are you pulling out some more memorabilia?
Yeah, I was gonna show it next week, but we might as well. The Goshen Motion. I got to give a shout out to Marta and Kate over at Frame Art, right in DuPont Plaza. They do all my framing. Look at this beauty. I sent this. I've interviewed Rick before. He's around my age, and I sent this to him in the mail. Got his address, and he said, "Casey, I'd be happy to sign that." Look at that beauty.
That's outstanding. The Golden Boy,
Rick Meyer, as they took down Michigan. Isn't that beautiful?
Unbelievable. Casey, that's phenomenal that you sent them in the mail to get signed. You got it back and it's framed.
Isn't that a beauty? Again, Frame Art. If you need your anything framed, they're top shelf, and I just want to give a shout out to them. But yeah, thank you, Rick. He's out in California, I believe. I should know because I mailed it to him, but he has like a vineyard or something. He's into wine, and I should have hit him up for a couple bottles of wine, but instead I got this, and I got a couple rookie cards signed too. So Rick I was a big fan of Rick. Mike Chevron, remember, also coached there after he left Fort Wayne.
He was at Southside, right? Right before Matt Land?
Southside and Carroll. I'm trying to remember, was it Carroll then Southside or Southside to Carroll? But he coached at both, did Mike, and then he ended up at Goshen, I believe. I'm going to look that up.
I know Fairfield, they have a great program there, but somehow they end up meeting up with Bishop Luers. And Bishop Luers does a good job. Yep. Lakeland at South Bend St. Joe. Wow, South Bend St. Joe by 15. So that doesn't bode well for Southside if the Saints from South Bend come into Archer Stadium with a big dub like that.
Well, remember last year Lakeland beat them last year.
Yep.
That was kind of that early season, one of those early season shockers. It could happen again. But again, a new coach, you just never know how kids are going to acclimate. They may come out and blow the doors off South Bend St. Joe. I guess we'll find out. I'm looking up Mike Chevron. Yeah, was there in 2013, 2012, 2011. He was just there 3 years. And then I think Mike retired.
And going back to Lakeland, Tom Wagaman, who was at Northridge for a number of years.
Yep.
So was a strong coach there, now taking over at Lakeland. So it's not like they don't have any leadership there.
No, and Tom actually coached, speaking of Goshen, at Goshen in 2022 and 2023. So he's made the rounds. He's Coach Wagaman's that's a name in northern parts of Indiana. He's been at a few stops. So he's definitely a veteran coach. He's kind of the Sherwood Haydock of North Central Indiana, if you will.
West Noble at Central Noble, West Noble by 35. I mean, ever since Coach Hayden Kilgore left Central Noble, it's been a little hard, but they can get it back going again. I mean,
they like to throw it around, and that's the thing. It's the weather's going to cooperate. Could be a dangerous team throwing the ball.
And here, being on the north part of Fort Wayne, Busco, Huntertown area, 2,000 homes going in. They're actually putting fiber internet in now, Casey, so we can get rid of the Starlink. That should be in by January. Central Noble could be a beneficiary of all these extra houses and these extra kids, because sometimes they do make their way to Albion.
Yep. No, that could be a sleeper team for sure, the sleeper school, because they've had a lot of success through the years in all their sports programs.
Yeah, remember the great Connor Asigian should have been a Carroll basketball player.
That's right.
Whitco at Prairie Heights by 31. And Thomas Tyree, now the coach at Whitco, who was at Northside for many years. He's got a job to do, but it can be done at Whitco. And the girls basketball team has proved that. And, Whitco's coming to Fort Wayne and pulling some coaches, and it's working out for them. Now, if we go to Whitco girls basketball last year, I think it was their first ever sectional championship. Does that ring a bell, Casey? Their coach is Justin Jordan, who most people know in the Fort Wayne area. But they beat Bremen 53-44 for their first regional championship, and then lost to Eastside in the semi-state. But a good coach can win anywhere, and that's what Tyree's about to do.
Well, and in Whitco, not unlike Central Noble, is one of those small kind of farming communities that has had success in a lot of their sports programs. In Whitco, I mean, you think back to who was the lefty that was it Jeff Peters or whatever, played at Notre Dame, basketball player back in the early to mid 80s. I mean, I know I'm going back and showing my age there, but they've had some success in multiple sports, but football has really just fallen on hard times. 0-10 last year, 1-9, 0-10, 1-9, 4-6. Phil Jensen is in 2020. Coach Jensen, of course, another one of those names that had success at multiple stops here in northern Indiana.
And there were rumblings, that they should have made Columbia City bigger and close Whitco and stuff like that. But, there is something to be said for a smaller school where it's like you don't have to sprint, in between periods to get to your next class so you're not late. Weston Painter, a shout out. Ryan Klein is an absolute animal up front on both sides of the offense and defensive line for Woodland. His strength and intensity set the tone in the trenches, and he's the kind of player who makes everyone around him better. Expect him to have a dominant year and be a huge difference maker every game. Weston, thank you so much for that, man. Ryan Klein over at Woodland.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, was Ryan at Carroll before? Am I thinking, is that the same Klein that I'm thinking of, or no?
I'm not.
Could be wrong. Could be wrong. Weston sent us a text. But yeah, no, appreciate the information. There's 37 schools. It's a little mind-numbing. Jeff, I know you're the same way. We're really excited. Roosevelt Moore, let's go Northside. Yes. Let's go for the North. I'm excited for Northside. They, again, for whatever reason, they seem like they're under the radar, which is wild to me.
Well, just remember the Wayne game last year. Malik Moore, Josh Masasu, the muscle up the middle. Everybody knows Malik Moore. You were absolutely right. Adam Klein at Carroll. Good call, Casey. Sideline Swami. But going back to Roosevelt Moore here in Northside, Casey, in that game against Wayne, Malik coming down, this kid hits hard. He plays like he has no regard for his body. You know, like you see from some of those Bishop Dwenger defenses, the way those guys fly around and put a hat on the ball. But they took Kamara out of that game, and Northside dominated Wayne last year. And I walked away from that one saying Malik Moore is the second best safety as a sophomore in Northeast Indiana.
After Brandon Logan.
Yeah,
you might have been right.
And he's an absolute weapon on offense, special teams. Give him some space, just silky smooth. He's one of the guys that makes it look effortless. You know what I mean? Kind of like a Randy Moss type.
Could be cool this year. How cool would it be to see two kids from Fort Wayne starting in the secondary at Notre Dame? Not saying it's going to happen, but Brandon Logan's a special athlete, as you know, and Tay is turning heads up there.
Yes.
And they're loaded in the secondary, but those two guys are both good enough, in my opinion, to, if not start, get some serious reps this fall for the Irish.
Well, the Irish defense is considered top 5 in the country. Defensive line, linebackers, and DBs. All 3 levels, their collection of athletes have them ranked in the top 5 in the country. It's crazy, Casey. It's like, yes, the SEC is still the best conference, but Notre Dame's a top 5 team. You know, Ohio State's one of the best teams. It almost feels like a shift of power more back to the Midwest at the very top.
Well, the last 2 national champions are from the Big Ten, Ohio State and Michigan. Maybe Michigan deserves an asterisk. That's a subject for another day. But, you know, you look at what IU did last year, cracking the college football playoff, Oregon, Penn State. The Big Ten, I think the Big Ten is here, and the SEC is now in second fiddle, in my opinion. I know the SEC folks will go crazy, but until they start playing one another more in preseason and they mandate that with the schedules, these polls, especially these preseason polls, don't mean anything. They don't mean any more than my blowing smoke poll, because you don't know. There's not enough head-to-head stuff out of conference. And
let's just call it what it is, Casey. There's the Big Ten and there's the SEC. Everybody else can really just go away, except for give me Miami, give me Boston College, give me Florida State. You know,
Notre Dame. Yeah.
Oh, 100%. I kind of consider them Big Ten anyways, but you know what I mean? Just put them all together, have a North and a South, and call it a day.
Yeah. There's talk of going to 24 teams or whatever. That's too much. I think 12's fine. 16, I suppose I could get on board with, but 12 seems fine to me. Maybe even 8. I don't know. But last year was so much fun. Now, granted, I'm an IU grad, a Notre Dame fan, but also an IU fan. I was in heaven last year with both my teams having special years. The only thing that would have made it better is if they would have played in the championship game, and I would have, I could have fallen asleep afterwards and gone to heaven, and it wouldn't have mattered who won. It was a great season. So that being said, you know what? Anything could happen this year. Both of them, there's high hopes at both. folks, pick up your copy of Game Night at all the featured games this week. Nice shot there of Coach Sig. Thank you, Jeff, for spending time tonight to, break down the reg and kickstart the season. I know you're excited. I am too.
Yeah, and it was only 2 hours and 20 minutes this time, Casey.
Well, we were shooting for an hour and 15, hour and a half. That's about on par for you and I. We're both talkers. We love talking high school football.
Mm-hmm.
I think we have that compulsion to want to offer more and not shortchange anybody. That's how you operate with Summit City. That's how I operate with Game Night, and I think that's what makes our friendship and our partnership, fun.
And going back to Weston's point, Ryan Klein, you love to hear it in the trenches right there. A lot of very young players shined for this team a year ago. The leading tackler, Eli Funk, was only a freshman, 83 tackles, 4 tackles for a loss. Spieth was a sophomore, Jackway a sophomore. Those are your 3 leading tacklers.
Yep.
All coming back.
Yep. And remember, Seb Spieth, played for Sherwood on that state finalist team. That's his little brother. So wow. Yeah. There's some good names there, and there's a young Griffin Clear, the young quarterback. Keep an eye out for that young man. I think he's got a bright future. So no, Woodland's going to be fine. I'm a big believer, especially out of the gate, that seniors set the tone early in a season, and then their senior class is just not very strong. It's not very deep. So we'll see.
Shout out from the great East Noble quarterback from years past, Andrew McCormick.
Hi, Andrew.
DeKalb versus Angola might have missed it. We touched on it earlier. We're excited about that game. Swami has DeKalb winning by 8.
That sounds about right. Yeah.
And I think it could be a little bit closer right there, but it's going to be a fun one. And Andrew is now at DeKalb. I'm not sure if he's coaching the quarterbacks or what he's doing there, offensive coordinator, but started with
coaching the quarterbacks, right? If Coach Robertson, right, knows his stuff. Coach Robertson, by the way, has a great beard. Remember that thing? I about got lost in it. It was just amazing. Massive. And it was just so rich and color, dark. And I just wanted to jump in it and take a nap.
Yeah, and those two were coaching together when Andrew broke in at East Noble under Coach Amstutz, and he's gone around. And remember, he played at, was it Indiana State? Then came to St. Francis and finished his college career there. He actually got moved to linebacker because Andrew McCormick was a big dude, man. I mean, we talk about dense players like a Caleb Kingley. That's how McCormick was as well. Yep. And I think they're going to get things turned around there at DeKalb. Not like they had really ever turned sideways. It's just, a tough NE8 conference.
It's a proud program. I remember back in the 80s with the likes of Brad Weber, early 90s, played at baseball and football at IU. Lefty could sling it around. I mean, that 80s, I think it was the 86 team that won state. I mean, Jeremy Sassanella in the early to mid 90s. Remember that quarterback name? Great baseball player, played football. I mean, they had it going with Ron Cook there, even into the late 90s, early 2000s. And ever since then, they've never really been able to recapture that. So it's a proud program with the right system, the right coaches, and a special class or two. They can get back up there. And I think that's the goal, is they're tired of being a middling Northeast 8 team. They see themselves big picture traditionally, historically, as a top 2 or 3 team in that conference. Granted, most of their heyday was in the Northeast Hoosier Conference, which is now defunct, but a lot of the same teams, Jeff.
Yeah, McCormick just chimed back 16, so I think he's got DeKalb winning by 16. Roosevelt wants to know the spread there. Swami's got Northside winning by 8, I believe it was.
I think it was 12.
Oh, 12. So, but
no, you're right. It was 9. It was 9.
Okay, and we got this posted on summitcitysports.com. Just click on Game Night at the top, and you can find all the past archives, and I'm going to share it out on Twitter. I'll make sure to tag you, Casey, so you can retweet it.
Great. Thank you, Jeff. Thanks, everybody, for watching. It was a lot of fun. Tune in tomorrow night to Summit City Sports. If you can't get out to a game in person, if you do get out to a game in person, pick up one of these. Check it out online. We'll see you next week.